Chapter 248. As soon as Lu Chen's post was posted, it was still very popular, but it didn't take long for his post to be pushed down. Lu Chen took a look. It was from Autumn Night Ning Shuang, his disciple. Autumn Night Ning Shuang, don't send me any more emails. I just want to train. Here's a reply to my master's suggestion. There's only one suggestion. Turn on the 100% pain system and clear the dungeon alone. A bunch of people replied, and the post was very popular. Moreover, starting from the second floor, the replies were very neat. They all called Ning Shuang senior sister. Lu Chen was speechless. Since when did he have so many disciples? Senior sister, master is too ruthless. But this is a good idea. After turning on the pain system, I will go all out against every enemy. Senior sister, please take me along. When can you tell master to take me in as a disciple? I have a fresh and tender chrysanthemum. Funny face to save life, those who contribute chrysanthemum, I'll sign up too. Master has good taste. We've long advocated turning on the pain system. That way, we can experience the game better. Clap, clap, clap. Lu Chen was also on the verge of collapse. This generation of online games was becoming more and more uncaring about their chrysanthemums. Suddenly, the Huaxia server, and even the other servers, started a craze. Turning on the pain system in the game. This probably had something to do with Ning Shuang's post. At the same time, Lu Chen began to distance himself from this bunch of lunatics and continued to level up. After reaching a higher level, Lu Chen's leveling speed was not as fast as before. Now, he needed more than 100 million experience to level up once. Currently, only the level 48 dungeon, 1000 Demon Burial, gave more experience, but it was only a normal dungeon. A single run would only give him 5 to 6 million experience. Ah, the last few levels are so slow. Lu Chen shook his head. This dungeon was so hard that he was about to vomit. He had no choice. In order to reach level 50, he had to do it even if he vomited. Forget it, forget it. I'll continue. It's better than killing monsters in the wild. Lu Chen said helplessly. When I reach level 50, I'll fuse with a few new species. 12 days later, the Nine Heaven World welcomed the second large-scale official event. With each country as a unit, the individual competition preliminaries had already begun. Almost all the members of the Frenzied Waves Guild had signed up. Regardless of whether they could obtain a ranking, they could at least increase their combat experience. For the time being, the Immortal Mountain main city's server would be one area. Anyone could enter the arena that would appear temporarily outside the Immortal Mountain main city, and the system would randomly assign an opponent. Although it was said to be random, it really was random. As long as it wasn't a closed beta player, players could encounter opponents of any level and equipment. Because they would meet in the end anyway. Every player had to participate in 3 matches per day. Based on the calculation of 400 million players in the Huaxia server, 350 million players would be eliminated on the first day. This was a real national competition. All the major streamers were also doing their best to broadcast the grand duel. ESD's Xiao Yaofeng has already completed all 3 matches. His strength is one of the best in our region. I think he has the potential to enter the top 256 in the country. Actually, the Crown Prince is still very strong. He's already level 38, and his equipment is also very luxurious. He easily completed the 3rd round and advanced to the next round. Wow, the members of Frenzied Waves are very strong. More than 10 of them have already advanced to the next round. The veteran expert TT is still strong. Their members are almost unrivaled in the arena. On the second day, after the 3 matches, there were still 6 million players left. On the 3rd day, there were 760,000. On the 4th day, there were only 80,000 players left. On the 7th day, all the people who entered the top 256 were selected. These people were undoubtedly the strongest of the strong, the elites of the elites. What surprised many people was that the Wild Wave Guild, which was once thought to be just a subordinate of John Doe, actually had 4 people selected this time. Handsome, Yi, Ning Shuang, and a small team leader, unlimited firepower. Part of it was also luck. For example, Cold Glutinous and Sheik met professional players who were also the disciples of a closed beta player. It was a pity that they lost when their level and equipment were suppressed. After the top 256 were determined, all the selected players would rest for a week, waiting for the final battle. All the players in the server were paying attention to the individual matches. Lu Chen finally had some free time. With nothing to do, Lu Chen upgraded the army order again and captured 10 new players. This time, Lu Chen captured the Red Robe Evil Spirit from a level 48 dungeon. Speaking of which, the Red Robe Evil Spirit did not look much better than the 8 heads. However, this thing was really powerful. Its attack was all magic attack, and its movement speed was very fast. It also had the characteristic of being immune to physical attacks. Its talent was to reduce the opponent's attack power. With such a strong talent, Lu Chen fused with it. Now that he had fused with the evil spirit, Lu Chen was not picky anymore. He fused with the zombie from the underground mine, the swamp zombie from the desert oasis, and the giant vampire bat from the miasma trail. Ren Afeng. Lu Chen took off his human skin and fell into deep thought as he looked at his current appearance. Apart from its previous appearance, its tiger head was now devoid of even its eyeballs. This was the effect of fusing with an evil ghost. Its originally terrifying body was now rotten and shriveled, looking like a rotten tree. This was the effect of fusing with zombies and rotting corpses. The 2 large fangs in its mouth and pointy ears were the unique features of a giant vampire bat. Damn it! It's getting more and more evil. However, it did not matter. Lu Chen could change his appearance if he wanted. The key was that these wild monsters had good talents. After fusing with so many new species in one go, Lu Chen suddenly realized a problem. Now that his grade was 7 stars, the total number of talents he could activate could not exceed 2 stars. In other words, Lu Chen could only activate 9 talents at most. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Chen decided on the 9 talents he was using. The werewolf, tiger demon, poisonous spider, green snake, macaque, flower demon, and undead were all retained. In addition, he added the vengeful spirit bloodline of the evil spirit and the bat demon bloodline of the giant vampire bat. After leveling up, these 2 talents had become quite powerful. Talent 8, Vengeful Spirit Bloodline, Level 6 Fright. Reduces the physical and magical attack power of enemies within 40 meters by 15%. At the same time, reduces the enemy's attack speed by 10%. Increases the casting time by 10%. Talent 9, Bat Demon Bloodline, Level 6 Vampiric. Absorbs 12% of the health damage caused by physical attacks. At the same time, the healing effect is increased by 20%. These 2 skills were very useful, especially the Vampiric of the Bat Demon Bloodline. This was a passive skill that Lu Chen had always wanted. Although the current vampiric ratio was not high, the effect was already very impressive when combined with his high attack power. There was no one else in the territory, so it did not matter if Lu Chen's original appearance was exposed. These few days, he was busy upgrading the army hall. After the upgrade, he put in the extra level 3 Soul Source Core. There was also the upgrade of the personal dungeon. The previous level 25, 5-person dungeon could now be upgraded to a level 30, 10-person team dungeon. When everything was done, the finals of the all-server individual competition officially began. On this day, Lu Chen also reached level 50. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Level 50. It's time. Chapter 249. Stone Gate World. It had been a long time since he came here. Lu Chen summoned Xiao Min. Xiao Min, we're home. Boss, are you going to that place? Xiao Min tilted her head and looked at Lu Chen. Yes, I remember that there might be a hidden dungeon here. After completing the Kill the Watchdog mission that Xiao Min issued, Lu Chen got a Dead Soul Gate key. Xiao Min said that the dungeon was a level 50 elite dungeon. Lu Chen did not go because he was only around level 20. Now, he could go. Lu Chen still remembered that there was a terrifying creature in this dungeon. Back then, Cenobus kept using the Mukin Pearl to help it accumulate power. Moreover, that creature seemed to be closely related to one of the 3 dungeons. Walking directly to the formation that Cenobus had set up, Lu Chen found that the Mukin Pearl was still floating there. However, without the nourishment of spiritual power, the Mukin Pearl was not as dazzling. It was like an ordinary crystal ball floating in the air. Boss, take the Mukin Pearl, Xiao Min suddenly said. Huh? Didn't you say that I can't take it last time? Boss, the Mukin Pearl is also a pseudo-divine artifact. You already have the ability to control a pseudo-divine artifact set. The Mukin Pearl is no longer a problem. Lu Chen was pleasantly surprised. He could take the Mukin Pearl. Speaking of which, there had always been a pseudo-divine artifact here, but he never came to take it. Xiao Min, why didn't you say so earlier, boss? Xiao Min can only remind you of some things. I can't advise you to do anything. I can only say it when we're here. Lu Chen smiled. So that's how it is. I misunderstood you. With that, Lu Chen walked to the Mukin Pearl and picked it up with one hand. Check the attributes. Mukin Pearl, Orange Pseudo-Divine Artifact, Strength, 100, Agility, 100, Constitution, 100, Special Effect 1, automatically collect wearer's level *1 points of pure spirit energy every minute. Special Effect 2, increase the probability of obtaining pure spirit energy by killing enemies by 200%. Increase the amount of pure spirit energy obtained by killing enemies by wearer's level /2 points. Special Effect 3, Spiritual Energy Storm. Increase spiritual energy by 1000 points for 300 seconds and fill up the elixir with pure spiritual energy. Cooldown time, 30 minutes. Special Effect 4, Take It. Permanently increase pure spiritual energy by 300 points. After taking it, the Mukin Pearl will be consumed. His basic stats were trash, but that was not the main point. Seeing the Mukin Pearl's attributes, Lu Chen was simply stunned. What the fuck, this is simply a divine artifact. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that the Mukin Pearl's attributes were actually so abnormal. The first 2 special effects could increase the speed of collecting pure spiritual energy by an unknown number of times, and it could be collected every second, 50 points per minute. There was no need for Lu Chen to stop and cultivate. In the future, when he killed enemies, there was almost a 100% chance of obtaining pure spirit energy, and it would be at least 26 points. The spiritual energy storm was also very powerful. Although Lu Chen had already found the Tiger's Roar bug, so it was very easy to increase his spiritual attack, and it was a large increase. However, the spiritual energy storm increased his spiritual energy. Not only did it increase his spiritual attack, but it also increased the upper limit of his pure spiritual energy storage. In this way, when he used techniques, Lu Chen did not need to worry about his own pure spiritual energy storage. After opening the equipment slot, Lu Chen hurriedly invited the Mukin Pearl to the new treasure slot. This is really strong. Ha, with the Mukin Pearl, I feel much more at ease. Before entering the dungeon, he had already obtained a pseudo-divine artifact. This was considered a good start. Lu Chen was in a good mood. He quickly took out the Dead Spirit Door secret room, opened the dungeon, and stepped into the Dead Spirit Door. The monsters in the Dead Spirit Door were all level 50. The wild monsters here were all nightmare spirits in the energy state. Lu Chen was very experienced in fighting nightmare spirits. In less than half an hour, he arrived at the boss room. In the boss room sat a boss that Lu Chen had never encountered before. This was a huge skeleton. Even if it was sitting there, it was at least 15 meters tall. If it stood up, it would probably be twice as tall. The throne under its body looked abnormally dazzling. It was covered with densely packed skulls, and the strange thing was that the eyes of each skull were bright. The whole throne occasionally emitted an indescribable sound, as if something was crying. This throne seemed to be alive. The skull wore a crown and wore armor. It proudly leaned on the back of the throne, and on the armrest beside it was a strangely shaped broadsword. The broadsword had a huge skeletal hand, and it opened up to form the hilt. The whole sword was suffused with a faint white light. "Boss, be careful. That's the Bone King Reynolds. It's very strong." Lu Chen frowned slightly. "Is it very strong? How is it compared to the heaven-devouring demonic tiger?" Xiao Min hesitated for a moment and said, "Boss, this guy is not a remnant soul." Hearing this, Lu Chen suddenly felt his hair stand on end. The heaven-devouring demonic tiger, violet flame phoenix, aurora white tiger, and so on. Although Lu Chen could kill these bosses now, it was not difficult. However, Lu Chen was very clear about one thing. No matter how strong those mythological beasts were, they were only remnants of their souls. A mere remnant soul was already so fierce. If he encountered the real body, Lu Chen did not have the confidence to underestimate himself. And this time, although this guy that Lu Chen encountered was not a divine beast, it was the real body. And this was very likely to be the outpost of the 3 hidden dungeons. The difficulty of the hidden dungeon was even higher than Twilight of the Gods. Lu Chen took a deep breath and stared at the Bone King. Whether it's the real body or the remnant soul, I must pass this level. Xiao Min, possess. Yes, boss. Lu Chen did not dare to be careless against this guy and carefully stepped into the battlefield. Ha 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 ha, it's you. I remember you. The Bone King was the first to speak. I know you defeated Cenobus and took away the Mukan Pearl. Lu Chen sneered. Aren't you talking nonsense? If I didn't kill Cenobus, where would I get the Undead Gate key? You're talking as if you're smart. Bone King Reynolds slowly reached out his hand and gripped the greatsword. The skeletal claws on the greatsword instantly extended several times. He patted the throne below him and said, "Very good. Since you were able to make it this far, you have proven your strength. But Solipsistic, do you know why my throne is alive?" It was normal for an NPC to know Lu Chen's ID. Lu Chen said disdainfully, "Who knows?" The Bone King suddenly swung the greatsword and fiercely struck the throne. Suddenly, the skeletons embedded in the throne were smashed into pieces. Then, a large number of undead ran out from within. They seemed to want to break free and escape, but the Bone King grabbed at the air with one hand. These undead screamed and began to drill into the Bone King's body. It turned out that the skeletons looked alive because there were tens of thousands of undead imprisoned within them. Screams, wails, and cries merged together. The Bone King greedily sucked these undead souls. Its body grew again, reaching 50 meters. At the same time, a translucent shield formed in front of it. Lu Chen furrowed his brows. He had already realized that this boss would be the strongest boss he had encountered so far. Chapter 250. The Bone King seemed to have undergone an evolution. His entire body was different from before. His body had become larger, surrounded by black gas, and a giant air shield was propped up in front of him. You have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. I wonder how strong you are. Lu Chen snorted coldly and was the first to attack. Quick move. Earth-splitting chasm. The 150-meter-long Raging Flame's wishful staff did not seem so exaggerated in front of the Bone King. With a bang, the staff slammed down. However, the staff only hit the Bone King's shield. The shield showed 563328/600,000. Not only that, but all the other effects of Earth-Splitting Chasm did not work. Earth-Splitting Chasm and Stun were completely ineffective. The Bone King smiled slightly and grabbed with one hand. From the broken throne, some souls poured out again and quickly filled the energy of the shield. The shield showed 600,000/600,000. What? Lu Chen was shocked. The Bone King could absorb energy from the throne to replenish its shield. That shield was already strong enough. In that case, if the souls of the throne were not consumed, the Bone King could always replenish the shield. Lu Chen might not even be able to break the shield. Moreover, the Earth-Splitting Chasm special effect was ineffective, causing Lu Chen to be unable to control that guy. That was the most terrifying part. Just as Lu Chen was thinking about countermeasures, the Bone King had already made his move. Void Splitter. A thick sword energy shot toward Lu Chen. Although there was only one sword energy, its range was so wide that Lu Chen took a deep breath. Fuck, is this a full-screen attack? That's right. A sword energy cut across the sky and covered the entire boss room, leaving Lu Chen with no way out. Lu Chen stared at the sword chi, estimating the speed of the sword chi. At the moment of imminent peril, Lu Chen roared in a low voice, Monkey King's clone. This clone would only produce one clone, and its strength was the weakest. However, at the moment of activating the clone, Lu Chen was in an invincible state and could not be targeted or attacked. It was this fraction of a second that allowed Lu Chen to avoid the sword chi. However, the sword chi did not stop after passing by Lu Chen. Instead, it blasted into the distance. The boss room collapsed. The sword chi continued to sweep towards the dungeon entrance. The surrounding buildings and rocks were all cut apart. In the end, the Chaos Gate at the entrance of the Instance dungeon was broken. The original Departed Spirit Gate dungeon was now exposed in the 100 Beast Mountain range. What? Lu Chen's eyes widened as he stared at the scene in disbelief. At this moment, even the experienced Lu Chen couldn't wrap his head around it. This sword directly destroyed the structure of the dungeon. How could this be? Boss, don't be in a daze. Do you still remember that the quest reward was the Instance dungeon source? This Instance dungeon is also built by the Instance dungeon support. This Instance dungeon can be destroyed by humans, but it requires an extremely large amount of destructive power or some kind of special cultivation method. Of course, Lu Chen remembered the Instance dungeon source. Until now, his Instance dungeon was still helping him earn a lot of resources and money every day. From the looks of it, the Bone King's void-shattering move was either extremely powerful or a special cultivation method that could destroy the structure of the dungeon. The Bone King laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, speaking of which, I still have to thank you. The Departed Spirit Gate's key? Didn't you think that the moment you opened the Departed Spirit Gate, it also meant that I could come out from inside? Ha ha ha, you didn't expect this, did you? You stopped the Muddy Dust Pearl from helping me collect energy, but you also personally released me. The Departed Spirit resources here are too rich. I can enjoy them to my heart's content. From now on, I will be the true king of this place. Lu Chen frowned. He really did not expect that the follow-up of this quest would be such a plot. This had completely exceeded his understanding of the game. Either the Heavenly Executioner was not human and had a hole in his brain, or there were some things that even the Heavenly Executioner could not control. The Bone King sneered. With a wave of his hand, a large number of departed spirits rushed toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen was about to dodge, but when he stopped, he realized that the departed spirits were rushing toward him again. Fuck, how do I dodge this thing? As he spoke, these departed spirits bound Lu Chen one by one. He could not move, could not use elixirs, and could not use cultivation methods. However, under such circumstances, the Bone King did not attack Lu Chen. It opened its mouth and laughed loudly. You can't dodge my 10,000 soul silk, but you don't have to worry. I can't attack you now, but you need to stay here alone for a while." After saying that, the Bone King actually left him and strode toward the distance. From the Bone King's explanation, it seemed that this skill was similar to entanglement of spider silk. It could only bind and did not cause any damage. Once attacked, it would automatically dispel. However, it was a little surprising that the Bone King did not take the opportunity to attack him. Lu Chen looked at the binding time. "Damn it, 30 minutes. Where the hell is that guy going?" Lu Chen looked back. After a short while, his face suddenly changed. That direction. North of Firmament City. At this time, Firmament City was holding an individual tournament. At this time, it had already entered the final round of 256 people. There were countless players gathered there to watch the competition. Because the players were pursuing their own combat skills, many of them were probably still using the full pain system. Not good. What kind of monster did I release? The competition just now was very exciting. It seems that there are still many experts in our Huaxia server. Also, congratulations to the players above for entering the top 64. Outside Firmament City, there were a total of 9 temporarily built huge arenas. Among them, the middle arena was the largest, with a length of 300 meters. This central arena was temporarily not used. Only the 8 surrounding arenas would be used. Because the final round would be held soon, only then would it be qualified to be held in this arena. The Skyline officials had found the famous host, Nellen. At this time, she was passionately hosting on the central arena. "Soon, we will begin the top 64 competition. We are getting closer and closer to determining the strongest player. Is everyone very excited?" "Actually, I am also very excited. However, we also need to give the contestants some time to rest. Next, let's invite Jay Cho to sing a song for everyone. Everyone, please take a short break." Jotian actually had product placement, and the King of Pop was also singing. This national competition had attracted a large number of businesses. This also showed that Jotian's influence was growing. The business opportunities were also becoming more and more mature. After Jay Cho went on stage, he looked at the countless audience below and smiled. Everyone must be anxious to watch the final round. I won't waste any more time. Music teacher, let's begin." Familiar music sounded. It was Jay Chou's famous song, Nunchaku. Many players also sang along. "Hurry up and use the nunchaku, ha ha ha, hurry up and use the nunchaku, ha ha." Jay Cho suddenly froze. An accident? No, Jay Cho slowly put down the microphone and looked into the distance in shock. In that direction, there was a huge object. After a few hits, it was getting closer and closer. What is that? Chapter 251. The central ring was much higher than the ground, so Jay Cho could see the Bone King, but the other players couldn't. Nellen didn't notice the figure rising and falling in the forest. She thought that something had happened to Jay Cho. After all, it wasn't the first time he forgot his lines, so she hurriedly went up the stage. "Oh, there's a problem with our equipment. Everyone knows that it's difficult to copy real-life equipment into the game. I'm very sorry." Jay Cho looked at Nellen as if he wanted to say something, but Nellen interrupted. "Let's invite Jay Cho to take a break. Alright, let's begin the next round. Contestants, please come up the stage." On Wild Wave's side, only Ning Shuang made it to the top 64. At this level, Lu Yingjin and the others couldn't show off their skills in front of professional players who were close to level 40. On the other hand, Ning Shuang made it to the top 64 with her level 43 equipment advantage. In this round, Ning Shuang's opponent was Thunderclap's Emperor. He was one of the first players to be accepted as a disciple by the closed beta players. He was now level 40. There was a huge difference between level 4 and level 40. There was a difference of more than 100 million EXP. However, there wasn't much of a difference between them. Both of them could equip level 40 equipment. Ning Shuang, don't be nervous. You can do it. Yeah, you've trained hard in the dungeon for so long. Your skills aren't any worse than others. Everyone encouraged Ning Shuang. Ning Shuang nodded heavily. Yes, I must win. I'm Master's disciple. I can't embarrass him. The 8 contestants went up the stage one after another. The competition was about to begin. However, at this moment, someone suddenly whispered, "Do you guys feel?" Someone immediately followed up, "Earthquake?" Yeah, it's not an earthquake. It's just, the ground is shaking. It's very regular. As they spoke, the tremors became more and more obvious. More and more people felt the ground shaking under their feet. What's that? The audience turned around in surprise. The forest south of Firmament City shook more and more violently. The leaves rustled and the tree trunks shook rhythmically. It was as if something terrifying was approaching from the forest. Ha ha ha, so many people. I like it. A deep voice sounded. Great, I can collect more souls. Then, a huge skeletal arm peeled away the last layer of the forest, and the 50-meter-tall behemoth appeared in front of everyone. Everyone looked at Bone King in horror. Why is there a boss here? Why did you come to High Firmament City? What's Tianqing doing? We're in the middle of an individual battle. Why did he bring out a boss? What a big boss. It feels like, it's different from other bosses. Bone King grinned. He, hello, my food. Lu Chen's body was being restrained by the souls of the dead. As he was unable to use his cultivation technique, he was at his wit's end. The only thing he could rely on was Xiao Min's invisibility, but he couldn't break the bindings either. Fuck, this skill is too shameless. Lu Chen would one day say that other people's skills were shameless. The binding time was 30 minutes, and there were still 21 minutes left. It seemed like he could only wait for the binding time to end. That guy has probably already started a massacre outside High Firmament City. Lu Chen shook his head. Xiao Min, what kind of boss is that? Xiao Min was more familiar with the world of the Stone Gate. Perhaps she knew something. Xiao Min said, Boss, I only know that it's very, very strong. Don't get killed by that guy. Otherwise, you won't be able to revive for a long time. What? Lu Chen's eyes widened in shock. I know that it has 2 skills. The first is Undead Binding. After killing the target, it binds the target's soul and enslaves it. The second is Skeleton Cores. The target will become skeletons and be controlled by it. I've seen it kill people before, and those people became skeleton soldiers loyal to it after they died. If the body was occupied and the soul was bound, then the player's soul wouldn't be able to return to the reincarnation realm after death. This time, Lu Chen was completely shocked. This boss had completely exceeded the definition of a normal boss. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was a Jiutian devil. How long can players not be revived? Previously, in the Undead Gate dungeon, the upper limit was that the players gave up on continuing the dungeon. But now, it has broken the dungeon's limit. I think it might be more than 24 hours. Being killed by this guy, not being able to revive for 24 hours, and being enslaved by it. Players being enslaved by a boss was simply unheard of in other games. The key was that it was not restricted by the dungeon, which meant that it could kill players without limit. If that was the case, this guy would probably rule the Huaxia server in the future. Lu Chen shook his head, what the hell did I release? Forget it, I still have to solve this problem. Lu Chen anxiously looked at his status. It would have been better if he didn't look, but when he did, he almost vomited blood. Previously, it was still 21 minutes away from the end of the binding. Now, it had become 34 minutes. Why did my binding time become longer? Boss, the Skeleton King must have started its massacre. The more souls it collects, the stronger its skills. Fuck. Lu Chen almost collapsed. How could those players be its opponent? Wouldn't they be cut like leeks? Then, wouldn't he be bound forever? Crazy, crazy, then I'll be trapped here forever. Lu Chen felt his scalp go numb as he thought of this. No, I have to break free. Damn, how do I break free from this damn thing? At this moment, Louis ran to Lu Chen's room, knocked on the glass door of the game cabin, and opened the voice channel. Brother, bad news, something big has happened. Lu Chen roughly knew what was going on, but he still wanted to know. What's wrong? A super boss has appeared in Firmament City, and it has already killed countless players. What's more terrifying is that after being killed by it, players can't revive. They will turn into skeleton soldiers and attack other players. Lu Chen frowned. It was just as he had expected. Brother, now our numbers are decreasing, and its numbers are increasing. We can't hold on anymore. What about you? What about wild waves? Stardust brought us to hide in Firmament City temporarily. It seems like it doesn't dare to come in, but it caught Ning Shuang. Ah. What do you mean it caught Ning Shuang? Ning Shuang didn't run with you. That boss said that it had already subdued your strongest player, and it also said that the strongest human player was less than an ant in its eyes. Ning Shuang got angry and fought with it, but in the end, Lu Chen shook his head. Ning Shuang, this silly girl. However, he could imagine that Louis had probably simplified that guy's words. She probably didn't mock him. Ning Shuang's temper was nothing in front of him, but it didn't change in front of others. Even if it was a boss, Ning Shuang probably couldn't tolerate it. It said that it would make the strongest human player a slave forever. What? Hearing this, Lu Chen was completely enraged. It's just a boss, isn't it too arrogant? Brother, a few super experts have appeared and are fighting with the Bone King, but I have a feeling that they won't be able to hold on for long. Brother, come over quickly. Lu Chen was also anxious, but how could he break the undead bind on him? Chapter 252. At this time, in front of Firmament City, 4 players were fighting the Bone King. Ordinary players had never seen these 4 people, but the top players knew them. These 4 people were Jiu Si, Sengoku, Shuangxi, and Dong Li. It was the appearance of these 4 people that allowed the top players in Huaxia to defeat the first and second mini-bosses in Tong Tian Tower in advance. Nameless was in the limelight, but in the hearts of the top players, these 4 people were the strongest players. Only these 4 people were qualified to fight the Bone King. Jiu Si, this guy's shield is so hard to break. Sengoku frowned. Judging from the situation just now, that guy could constantly replenish his shield with the souls of the dead. After fighting for a long time, the Bone King's undead shield was still full. Jiu Si was also in deep thought. Speaking of which, they did not want to care about the boss, but this boss was obviously different from the others. If it was allowed to kill players, no one would be able to survive in Jiutian in the future. Damn it, do we have to use that move? Jiu Si was in a dilemma. Jiu Si and the others were obviously not idle these days. Jiu Si had obtained the last item and could use that move, but considering that they wanted to make Nameless surrender, that move was always intended to be reserved for Nameless. If it was exposed now, Jiu Si was not sure if he could subdue Nameless. Ha ha ha, just a group of ants. I already said that the strongest among you has been subdued by me. The Bone King laughed loudly, and at the same time, grabbed with one hand, thousands of meters away, Lu Chen was still thinking about how to break free from the undead shackles. Suddenly, the souls of the dead around him seemed to have felt some kind of summoning, and rushed toward Firmament City from afar with Lu Chen. Damn, what's going on? Lu Chen could not move at all, and could only let his body fly out like a cannonball. Not long after, Lu Chen appeared outside Firmament City. Wow, look, it's Nameless. The sharp-eyed players immediately saw the figure. This boss is too strong. I've never seen such a strong boss before. Didn't a beta tester say that the 4 super champions were as strong as Nameless? Brother Nameless is here. I wonder if he can turn the tables. No matter what, now that Brother John Doe is here, our chances of winning have increased by 1 point. Lu Chen felt very depressed. Every time he came to High Firmament City, he was always the center of attention, so he was already used to it. Unfortunately, this time, his entire body was bound by the souls of the dead. He had been fucking tied up. Ha ha ha, do you see this person? You should all know each other. Bone King's skeletal face grimaced, even he is about to be subdued by me, why don't you submit to me? Cries of surprise could be heard all around. What? Nameless bro, lost? Even the war god will be defeated? What's going on? Brother Nameless can't move. Oh no, he's really been subdued. Lu Chen was also speechless. He was dragged here by Bone King to advertise. However, it just so happened that the appearance of Nameless made Jiu-Si, who had been hesitant, change his mind. If even Nameless was no match for him, then defeating Bone King was equivalent to defeating Nameless, and it was a higher level of defeat. At that time, what qualifications would that guy have to be unconvinced? In that case, there was no need to hesitate any longer. Bone King, don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated Nameless. Sengoku shouted angrily, then looked at his companions. Lu Chen was even more depressed. I haven't even fought yet, how could I be defeated? Bone King, if you have the ability, try to loosen the undead shackles. Although he didn't know the strength of Bone King, Lu Chen was absolutely confident that he would not be defeated so easily. Jiu-Si also nodded to his companions at this time. The 4 of them stood in the east, south, west, and north, and at the same time, they took out their magic weapons. As soon as this magic weapon appeared, there was a burst of exclamations on the city wall. Oh my god, 4 orange magic weapons. 1 for each of you, and have you noticed that the shape of the 4 magic weapons seems to be just right? The 4 magic weapons were 4 irregular flat objects. When the 4 people took out their magic weapons at the same time, the 4 magic weapons came close to each other and finally combined into a disc. Lower God card summon, Kwafu. The 4 people shouted at the same time. What is this? A special effect activated after the magic weapons are combined? Everyone was shocked. At the same time, a golden light shot out from the lower god card and went straight to the sky. The virtual image of a giant gradually condensed in the golden light. Is that Kwafu? Did they really summon a god? Damn, it's so big. It's not inferior to Bone King. Oh my god, we're saved now. Lu Chen was also stunned by this scene. The 4 of them had actually summoned a god. Unfortunately, when Lu Chen saw the profile picture above Kwafu's head, he was disappointed. The 4 of them did summon Kwafu, but to be more precise, it should be Kwafu's divine soul. Although Lu Chen didn't know the difference between divine soul and remnant soul, he was absolutely sure that at the same level, these souls were absolutely no match for the original body. And Bone King was the original body. This was also why almost all the players who got the Divine Beast summoning stone chose to summon the baby of the Divine Beast instead of the Summon Divine Beast Remnant Soul that could rapidly increase the combat power in a short time. Sigh. It's not the original body after all. Lu Chen frowned. But at this moment, Jiu-Si, Sengoku, Shuangxi, and Dong Li suddenly turned into 4 rays of light and entered Kwafu's huge body at the same time. Kwafu's head suddenly changed. Kwafu's descent. Descent and possession were 2 completely different concepts. If it was descent, it meant that Kwafu really came. This move really shocked everyone. If so, then there might be hope. At this time, there were already 2 giants in the field. Of course, there was still a hostage on the side. He was too small now. Secondly, no one had time to pay attention to him now. Chasing Sun Blast. Kwafu took the lead. Two pairs of huge fists blasted toward Bone King like a machine gun. The durability of Bone King's undead shield dropped rapidly. However, Bone King inside the shield was not surprised at all. Its skeletal face looked like it was smiling. Maybe it was really smiling. So what if Kwafu's descent is a child's play? Can he be compared with me, Bone King? Bone King opened his arms. Suddenly, the innumerable skeleton soldiers around him seemed to have lost their souls and turned into skeletons scattered on the ground. A large amount of black gas gathered toward Bone King from 100 miles away, and finally lingered on his broadsword. Dark Moon devours the sun. Bone King roared, and the giant sword burst out with amazing power. At a speed invisible to the naked eye, it penetrated Kwafu's body. It was really only a fraction of a second, faster and fiercer than Lu Chen's rapid movement. Before anyone could react, the giant sword had broken Kwafu's chest. Minus 840,000. This damage was shocking enough. However, this was not the end of this move. In the next second, countless black ghosts followed the path of the giant sword and penetrated Kwafu's chest. Minus 180,000, minus 180,000, minus 180,000. This was a continuous damage. However, unlike normal continuous damage, the interval between the continuous damage was too short. The number on top of Kwafu's head was so stacked that it was impossible to tell whether it was 180,000, or 1,880,000, or even 1,888,000, continuous damage, 10 times per second for 3 seconds. In just 3 seconds, the total damage was 5,400,000. Seeing this number, the whole field was silent. With a boom, Kwafu, who had 6 million HP, was directly killed. Chapter 253. Even Jiao did not expect that his trump card would be killed by Bone King in one hit. Bone King sneered, "I knew you had collected all of Kwafu's spirit summoning tablets. My Dark Moon devours the sun was reserved for you. Unfortunately, a god without divine power is not a god. You are no match for me." Lu Chen understood two things at this time. First, Bone King did not use Dark Moon devours the sun because he wanted to save it for Kwafu. For some reason, Bone King knew about the existence of Kwafu's spirit summoning tablets. This meant that Bone King did not think he was the biggest threat, but Kwafu. Moreover, Bone King would not be able to use this skill for a while. Of course, since the Bone King didn't use the Spectre Silk in the battle against Kwafu, Lu Chen could infer that the Spectre Silk, which was almost unavoidable and unbreakable, could only be used a limited number of times by the Bone King. As a result, he used it on himself. Second, it was not that Kwafu was too weak. If Bone King wanted to save a trump card for him, Kwafu could not be weak. It was just that Jiao and the others were not strong enough to use Kwafu's full power. However, it was useless to know that now. Kwafu was dead, so were Jiao and the others. Ha ha ha, anyone else want to stop me? Bone King reached out and the souls of the four who were about to return to the rebirth realm were suddenly sucked away. With their souls sucked away, they would not be able to revive their characters unless they waited for Bone King's skill to end. Who knew how long they would have to wait? This Bone King is too scary. I feel like he's going to break through the game dimension wall. Is there something wrong with Tianqing's brain? Who can beat such a boss in the individual tournament? Can the dead players be revived or not? Don't tell me he will never be able to revive. Impossible. There should be a skill duration, but it's too long. It's been almost 40 minutes and the first batch of players can't be revived. They did not know that Bone King's skill duration was at least 24 hours. Bone King took out a treasure and threw it on the ground. It was an iron cage with a woman inside. Lu Chen saw the woman at a glance. It was his disciple, Ning Shuang. All of you, die with me. Lu Chen was enraged. Not only did the boss drag him here to humiliate him, he even wanted to kill Ning Shuang in front of him. Even though being killed by wild monsters was not counted in the master-disciple system, killing Frost in front of everyone had already crossed Lu Chen's bottom line. At the critical moment, several figures rushed in front of Lu Chen and Ning Shuang. Stardust and the black hole of the game attempted to snatch the iron cage while the three Adonis brothers rushed towards Lu Chen. Buddha's illumination. Stardust shouted, "Black hole, take Ning Shuang away, quick." On the other side, the three Adonis brothers jumped in front of Nameless. "Boss, how can we save you?" Nameless said, "I'm trapped by the Revenant's silk." "You can't save me. Save Ning Shuang first." There was no time to think. The three Adonis brothers naturally believed Nameless' words and rushed to save Ning Shuang. Buddha's illumination's damage was not high, but it had the effect of blinding. The original 3 seconds of blinding was reduced to 1 second by Bone King. Black Hole of the game and the other 3 managed to snatch the iron cage, but Stardust was too late to retreat. Void Slice. A ray of sword light cut Stardust in half. Stardust had not participated in the individual tournament before this, but he wanted to train his combat skills, so he activated the full pain system. This attack dealt 370,000 damage. It made Stardust feel the pain of death. Ugh! With a scream, Stardust spat out a mouthful of blood. "Stardust!" Lu Chen exclaimed. Stardust turned around and looked at Lu Chen. He tried his best to relax his painful expression and forced a smile. "Nameless, I'm fine." Then, his neck tilted and he died. Bone King did not hold back and quickly collected Stardust's soul. Lu Chen's mind was buzzing. Stardust must have been in a lot of pain at the end. It was unimaginable pain. Even max-level players would cry like ghosts and howl like wolves. But he did not want Nameless to feel that she owed him something, so he offered that smile. When faced with such an invincible enemy, how many people would have the courage to stand up? How many people would dare to stand up? How many people would die for a friend without any reward? Lu Chen suddenly felt that it was a pity that he did not meet Stardust and the others earlier. They were people who could be called brothers. Ah! With a roar, Lu Chen's blood rushed to his brain. "Bone King, I want you to suffer a fate worse than death." His anger had been ignited. The fire of anger burned fiercely. But Bone King was unmoved. "Ha ha ha, are you angry? Sorry, you can't take revenge by being angry. My specter silk can bind gods like Quafu, let alone a mere human like you." Lu Chen's eyes were red. "Is that so? Then today, I, a lowly human, will break this specter silk." Inside the specter silk, Lu Chen could not move or use skills. But there was something he could do. He lowered the ratio of his attributes. He could summon his army and battle pets. The army was no match for Bone King, but there was something else they could do. Lu Chen only summoned the little lion head. It's a divine beast. No, this divine beast is not an adult yet. It can't be a match for Bone King. What is Nameless doing? Is he sending the divine beast to its death? What happened next stunned everyone. The little lion head bit at Nameless. 12119. Lu Chen was killed. The moment Nameless was killed, the little lion head returned to Lu Chen's pet pen. Everything happened so suddenly that people's minds were all short-circuited. What is he doing? What is Nameless doing? Did he lower his attributes? But why did he kill himself? Once he dies, Bone King will absorb his soul. No. Nameless must not want to be humiliated, but it won't help. Bone King was stunned for a moment. Then, he snorted. What an idiot. Well, I can get a powerful warrior's soul without shedding a drop of blood. That will save me some trouble. With that said, Bone King tried to absorb Nameless' soul with one hand. However, after the Bone King stretched out its claws, it was unable to collect the Nameless souls several times. What? What is going on? Absorb the soul. Still, nothing happened. Dry bones. Still, nothing happened. Nameless soul and body were not under Bone King's control. Well. Bone King was confused. How could the skill lose its effect? Right then, the area under Nameless' body was suddenly covered by a ball of purple fire. The fire was raging everywhere. Nameless' anger was growing stronger and stronger. What is going on? Why is it suddenly on fire? What is going on? Why can't Bone King collect Nameless' soul or control his body to become a skeleton soldier? This scene reminds me of a word. A player suddenly said. What word? The people around him asked. That person narrowed his eyes slightly, took a deep breath, and spat out 4 words. Rising from the ashes. Chapter 254. Amidst the purple flames, the man on the ground slowly stood up. His eyes had turned purple, and purple flames were burning all over his body. Behind him, the image of a huge purple phoenix appeared, and it let out a long cry towards the sky. Ning Shuang looked at the back in shock. Master, Ing Jun frowned. I know how John Doe broke the specter silk. Ing Jun nodded. Yes, after death, the specter silk can no longer bind the soul. Nameless took advantage of this, and it's the only way to break free from the specter silk. Even Kwafu couldn't break free from the specter silk. One could imagine how powerful it was. Normal methods wouldn't work. Bone King had no choice but to accept this man. I didn't expect you to come up with such a method. It's smart, but it's also stupid. You actually got the Purple Flame Phoenix's magic weapon. However, to break free, you've already wasted a life. You can't be so naive as to think that you can defeat me with just one life, right? Lu Chen snorted and said in a low voice, you only bound me because you're afraid of me, right? Dark Moon Devouring Sun is indeed powerful. So is Void Shattering. However, if I can dodge your Void Shattering, it means that I might be able to dodge your Dark Moon Devouring Sunday. You're afraid of wasting such a powerful surekill skill, so you use the almost unavoidable Spectre Silk to control me. You don't have confidence in yourself, so you can only use such a disgusting thing. The crowd was in an uproar. Bone King said that it was easy to subdue Nameless. He didn't expect the battle to be so dangerous. It seemed that if it weren't for the Spectre Silk, Bone King might not have been able to defeat Nameless. You're really interesting. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I just don't want to waste time on you. Lu Chen smiled. Now it seems that you'll have to pay the price for your stupid decision. Lu Chen raised his hand and another divine beast appeared in his hand. Bone King's expression became unnatural when he saw the divine beast cub. You actually have this divine beast. And it's even grown. Lu Chen looked at Bone King with a faint smile. My friend didn't die in vain. Before Stardust died, he had used Buddha's light illumination. At that time, he had rushed into the departed soul shield to activate the skill. Everyone's attention was focused on the others, and they had forgotten that Stardust's Buddha's illumination actually had a blinding effect. This was extremely important. What did it mean to be effective when Bone King's Shield of the Dead was still active? This meant that as long as he was close enough to the Bone King, he would be able to use the skill's special effect when he was inside the Spectre Shield. Therefore, the only way to defeat the Bone King was to engage it in melee combat without the slightest chance to pull away. Calf was actually a Swanee cub. This cub's size was about the same as Hun Dun's. This meant that it had completed its first growth. As for the little guy's skill, probability of stun. After giving him a new skill, John Doe put away Tao Wu and looked at Bone King. Bone King, I don't care where you come from, and I don't care what you are. Remember my words, whoever touches my people must pay the price. God of War Possession. Transform. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen quickly moved and instantly closed the distance between him and Skeleton King. Skeleton King hurriedly retreated. Unfortunately, Lu Chen still had quick movement. He had already expected Skeleton King to retreat. This also showed that Skeleton King's weakness was that he was afraid of getting close to him. It was hard to imagine that a boss with such a huge and terrifying appearance was afraid of getting close to him. Perhaps this was also a kind of disguise. Lu Chen's two quick movements left a long path of flames under his feet. In an instant, Lu Chen had already arrived in front of Skeleton King. You're asking for it. Shatter Void, let's see how you're going to dodge it. The distance was too close, and it had exceeded the limit of human reaction. Even Lu Chen could not use a clone to dodge Shatter Void at such a close distance. Let's see how you're going to dodge it. It was actually very simple. If you can't dodge it, don't dodge it. Lu Chen did not dodge it. He took the hit head-on. Minus 320,000. Lu Chen's health points dropped by 2/3. Master. Brother. Big brother. Lu Yi almost exposed her identity. Everyone's heart felt like it was being hammered by a heavy hammer. 32% of his health points was already unbearable for them. With Skeleton King's attack, if he touched Lu Chen again, Lu Chen might really die. It was after taking all of the damage from Shatter Void that Nameless was able to get close to Skeleton King. Doppelganger. Wu Ming roared. Nameless' next sentence shocked everyone. I'm sorry, you're already dead. The three Adonis brothers looked at the battlefield in surprise. Isn't Nameless too confident? He just got close. Skeleton King's health points can't be seen even now. Nameless shouldn't be so careless. He's our only hope now. However, Nameless was such a purple heart. 6 doppelgangers, plus 1 main body, 7 evil demons attacked the Bone King fiercely. Tiger descends the mountain. Lu Chen roared and attacked. Minus 24,111, minus 15750, poisoned, minus 15,750, poisoned, minus 86484, double critical hit, minus 15,750, poisoned, minus 15,759, poisoned. Nameless dealt over 400,000 plus damage with an 18 hit. At the same time, the Vampire Bat Talent's HP recovery came into play at this time. A single attack would recover 20,000 plus HP. It was important to note that the giant Vampire Bat's HP recovery was only calculated based on normal attack damage, so the poison damage could not be recovered. Therefore, Nameless only recovered 20,000 plus HP when he dealt 400,000 plus damage. Nameless' damage was already very high, but compared to the clone's damage, Nameless' damage was weak. The clone's damage was off the charts. Although they were not as powerful as Tiger Descends the Mountain and their damage was reduced by 20%, with 6 clones attacking at the same time, the damage was unheard of. The debuffs on Skeleton King were crazily refreshed. Silence, slow, stun, poison, poison, silence, poison, stun, stun, poison, ignite. Skeleton King did not even have a chance to wake up. However, after attacking for a long time, Skeleton King's HP did not decrease. In addition to relying on the souls to recover, the Revenant Shield also had an overpowered ability. It could convert the HP lost by the owner. Skeleton King's HP bar was actually changing. Its HP limit had also been revealed. It was as high as 20 million. However, the Revenant Shield was desperately helping to recover its HP. The Revenant Shield's durability limit was 600,000, but it could still rely on the souls to recover. In short, Lu Chen had to deplete the Revenant Shield first before he could really reduce Skeleton King's HP. All the players were sweating for Nameless. Damn, Skeleton King's HP is really overpowered. If I calculate, I estimate it to be at least 50 million. Nameless can almost always stun Skeleton King with his clones. But if his clones are gone, I don't know if he can still stun Skeleton King. Nameless, go for it. Chapter 255. As it turned out, the player's worries were unfounded. Nameless was the true definition of infinite stun. For 10 whole minutes, Nameless' health bar was full, but the Bone King did not even move once. That's too strong. It's been 10 minutes. Nameless is invincible in a one-on-one fight. Once he gets close, he'll be stunned to death. Don't forget, the Bone King has stun resistance. The chance of stun is small, and the stun duration is short. Nameless can stun it for 10 minutes. Nameless' doppelganger was about to expire, but he still had an active stun skill. Lu Chen hit the Bone King with his staff. The Bone King was stunned for 1 second. At the same time, Lu Chen activated a second doppelganger. Nameless' damage had decreased, but the problem was that the Bone King still did not have a chance to wake up. Oh my god, Nameless' doppelganger doesn't have a cooldown period. That's insane. Brother John Doe, what kind of orange equipment is that? Why is there such an unreasonable special effect? I suddenly remembered what Nameless said at the beginning. If he gets close, the Bone King will be dead. Not long after, the Bone King's bug-level skill, Soul Shield, finally stopped self-healing. In an instant, 600,000 durability was transferred to the Bone King. Nameless' next attack was finally able to touch the Bone King's health bar. 20 million health was still not enough to withstand a group of doppelganger. Poisoned, stunned, silenced, slowed, poisoned, ignited. It was a real group attack, a real beating. The 7 Nameless doppelganger attacked like crazy. It was impossible to see who was dealing the damage. A pile of damage stacked together and appeared at the same time. The Bone King's health bar was dropping at a visible rate. Ning Shuang shook her head and sighed. So this is Master's true strength. Oh my god, what's with the 600 level max player? It was just a joke. One of the level 37 players had an ugly expression on his face. He was really stupid. When Nameless proposed such a ridiculous bet, he should have felt that something was wrong. He actually went along with Rain God and the others. Now, he was hidden among a group of players, and no one knew that he was one of the players who had once maxed out. Nameless. He is indeed the strongest in the entire server. At this point, anyone with gaming knowledge would know that Nameless could not make a mistake. Even if he made a mistake, it would be fine. A bunch of clones could help him complete the kill. 5 minutes later, the Bone King had only 300,000 HP left. His HP bar was barely visible. The Skeleton King was already in a daze. If the HP provided by the Spectre Shield was included, its total HP could reach 70 million. However, it did not wake up even once. It also had a lot of powerful techniques, super high attacks, and its departed soul throne. Even the Spectre Damask's cooldown was almost over. However, in the face of dizziness, everything was like floating clouds. As for the last 300,000, Nameless put away her doppelganger. Her true self went down the mountain like a fierce tiger and took Bone King away. No, impossible, this is impossible. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. Bone King screamed. Its body turned into white bones and fell to the ground. Sorry, what you said is impossible has already happened. Nameless coldly snorted, scram, trash. At this moment, countless black specters let out a series of bone-chilling screams as they fled in all directions. Most of the specters rushed towards the rebirth mirror not far away from Firmament City. Lu Chen faintly smiled. It seemed that the specters of the players had been released. He wondered which one of them belonged to Stardust. Killed Bone King Lenoric, level 50 boss. Revived with 12 million world spirit. Obtained rank 1 talent fragment x10. Obtained rank 1 evolution points x10. Obtained demon god's heart x1. Obtained demon god's fragment x1. Lu Chen had never seen the items that the Bone King dropped before. Fuck, what the hell is this? Ding. Obtained undead throne, dark gold, Bone King's assault ring, level 50 dark gold, demon god's temple invitation, unique quest item, mountain splitting sea scroll, mysterious level cultivation method, Bone King's crushed bones, x5, orange material. The Bone King's items were all different. It directly dropped 2 dark gold items and even the materials were orange. Among them was the demon god's temple invitation that Lu Chen had always wanted. After the twilight of the gods dungeon, Lu Chen finally found the second of the 3 hidden dungeons. This time, he didn't get a key, but an invitation. He didn't know what the difference was. Damn, how can any of the 3 hidden dungeons be easy to find? Lu Chen shook his head and complained. What divine blood demonic seed quest? This difficulty was simply inhumane. Now was not the time to check his equipment. After killing Bone King, Lu Chen could finally rest for a while. Not long after, a large number of players revived. Although they were caught in the game, they could still watch the live broadcast. And the scene of John Doe fighting Bone King had undoubtedly shocked them to the core. When Nameless was hit by Void Destroyer and lost 2/3 of his health, they were almost in despair. If Nameless died again, they would have to go to the Heavenly Network headquarters to protest. Fortunately, Nameless didn't disappoint them. He directly fainted the Bone King for 70 million health. Nameless bro, thanks. Nameless bro, you're so cool. I don't have any white fans. Stardust had also returned. When he saw Nameless, he smiled cheekily. Hey, Nameless, why are you so excited when I'm dead? Let me tell you, I'm a straight man. Lu Chen was really amused by this guy. He punched him. What are you thinking? Jokes aside, Stardust patted Nameless' shoulder heavily. Nameless, from now on, you're my brother, no matter in the game or in real life. That's right. Nameless bro, we definitely can't compare to you in the game. But in real life, if you encounter any problems, look for us. The game's black hole also walked over. The 3 Adonis brothers also came over. The 3 of them said proudly, it's not that we're bragging, but there aren't many things that we can't handle in the outside world. Lu Chen didn't doubt this. This group of people were rich, and not just rich. They didn't care for tens of millions. How rich were their families? To put it bluntly, their families were probably not inferior to Ning Shuang's. Of course, Lu Chen was thinking too much. Now that his influence in real life was growing, at least in Nanjiang City, with the military and Secretary Lin, he had nothing to worry about. Master, Master. Ning Shuang rushed over and threw herself into Nameless' arms. You're here to save me, right? I knew you wouldn't leave me behind. Lu Chen blinked. This girl was in public. Wasn't it a little inappropriate for her to have such a big reaction? Moreover, was the relationship between master and disciple so intimate? It was just that this soft touch. No, Lu Chen, what are you thinking? This is a game, don't think too much. Chapter 256. Everyone was discussing Nameless' strength. Many girls looked at the legendary god of war standing beside them with stars in their eyes. Although Lu Chen did not like to be in the limelight, he was gradually getting used to the feeling of being the center of attention. He had no choice. He wanted to keep a low profile, but his strength did not allow him to. Not long after, someone squeezed through the crowd and tugged at Nameless' sleeve. Lu Chen looked back curiously. The newcomer was actually Exquisite Purple Heart. Lu Chen was a little confused. Why would this woman come looking for him? Could it be that she had taken things too hard? Exquisite Zixin was a little embarrassed. She hesitated for a long time before saying, thank you. I was killed by Bone King before, Lu Chen frowned. He did not expect this woman to be here to thank him. Lu Chen smiled. No need to thank me. I'm just here to kill the boss. Exquisite Zixin was a little embarrassed. She nodded. I know, but thank you anyway, Lu Chen smiled. He was not very interested in Exquisite's kindness. However, as long as she was not here to cause trouble, Lu Chen was not so narrow-minded as to hold a grudge against her. Speaking of which, Exquisite did not gain anything from him. Instead, she suffered a double loss. This small interlude passed quickly. Nameless was soon surrounded by others. Exquisite Zixin sighed. She did not expect her old enemy to be standing at the peak of the entire server. Moreover, he was so far away. Revenge? Forget it. There was no more chance. It was good enough that he could let bygones be bygones. Bone King had passed away, but it was still the individual competition. According to the rules, the final ranking had to be decided today. The organizers did not dare to delay this matter and immediately organized people to repair the battlefield. Under everyone's efforts, the 9 arenas were rebuilt. This time, Lu Chen did not leave. Ning Shuang dragged him to watch her match. Lu Chen had already passed through the undead gate. So what if he wanted to watch? Ning Shuang's battle was unexpectedly exciting. This girl was also willing to work hard. Her level and equipment were not weak. She was actually on par with Lei Tang Emperor. Ning Shuang is much stronger than before, Lu Yi said. Lu Chen smiled. Don't you know who her master is? Lu Yi pouted. I'm your disciple. Speaking of which, she has to call me senior sister. Lu Chen smiled. He knew that his sister was jealous. He patted her head and said, silly girl, how can you be the same as her? Lu Yi naturally knew that no matter when, her brother doted on her the most. In this match, it was as if Ning Shuang was on steroids. In the end, she defeated Lei Tang Emperor with her HP advantage and successfully advanced to the top 32. During the intermission, a newly formed girl group was performing on the main stage. Lu Chen was surprised to find that Xian Xian was actually in the center position. Ha, Xian Xian's dance is so sexy, Hua Luo said happily. The beauties in our group are all very powerful. Lu Chen walked to Leng Noa's side and asked, Noa, how's your development recently? Leng Noa saw that it was nameless and said embarrassedly, a few crews have already sent over scripts. I'm currently choosing one. Guild leader, there's someone's script that I like. It's just that they've requested to borrow our guild territory, so be it. It doesn't matter. They also asked me if you can leave the country. Lu Chen's original intention was to refuse. However, after thinking about it, if Leng Noa wasn't particularly satisfied with this script, he probably wouldn't even mention it. Lu Chen thought for a while and said, it's fine if I make a cameo appearance. However, I don't know how to act. When the time comes, teach me. Leng Noa didn't expect her guild leader to agree so readily. She looked at Lu Chen gratefully. And, it's easy to make a cameo appearance. It's definitely not a problem. Thank you, guild leader. Lu Chen smiled slightly. For someone who was almost kicked out of the entertainment industry, being able to find a script that she liked was already a great improvement. It seemed that Leng Noa's efforts had paid off. What's there to thank me for? I'm just a hands-off shopkeeper. I should thank you for Wild Wave's success today. While the few of them were chatting, a man squeezed out from behind the crowd. When he saw this person, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. The King of Pop, Jay Cho. He didn't expect that the King of Pop in real life would also be in the game. His level wasn't low either. He was level 36. Jay Cho? Jalen smiled and nodded. Nameless, I saw your battle just now. It's hard to imagine that you're actually stronger than the rumors say. Nameless, are you interested in being the male lead in my new MV? Just treat it as playing around. I feel like I'm bursting with inspiration right now. The male lead in Jay Chou's MV was very rare. However, Lu Chen still politely declined. Jay Chou, I'm sorry. I can't be the male lead. However, I really like all your songs. I'm looking forward to your new song. Jay Chou was also an open-minded person. He smiled and said, don't be modest. You're already the male lead. You're the male lead of the Jiutian Huaxia server. I know that you're low-key. It's fine if you don't play the male lead. I've already recorded my new song. Please listen to it together. Lu Chen smiled. Okay. After the dance, the competition continued. In the top 32, Ning Shuang met ESD's Xiao Yao Feng, who had a high chance of winning. In front of the experienced and all-round Xiao Yao Feng, Ning Shuang lost in the end. After losing the competition, Ning Shuang dejectedly came to Lu Chen's side. She lowered her head and whispered, Master, I'm sorry. I lost. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. It's fine. Your performance is already very good. That Xiao Yao Feng is already a top-notch expert. Without the advantage of equipment and level, it would be hard for me to beat him. You've only trained for a short while. I'm very satisfied with your performance. Really? Ning Shuang raised her head and looked at her master excitedly. This was the first time her master had praised her. Top 16, Top 8, Semifinals, and Finals. The last to enter the finals arena was an official ESD's Xiao Yao Feng and an unspecialized with the ID, Skywalker sword. Xiao Yao Feng was a nightmare elf, while Skywalker's sword was a warrior monk. The two of them fought a battle of wits and courage. One wanted to get close to the other, while the other wanted to increase the distance. All sorts of skills were fake and real, and the changes were brilliant. Both of them are experts. Ying Jun sighed from the bottom of his heart. Indeed. Both of them are experienced. Their level and equipment are about the same. They also have a deep understanding of their jobs. There were almost no mistakes during the competition. It was really brilliant. After an intense competition, neither of them managed to kill the other. When the competition ended, Xiao Yao Feng lost 44% of his HP, while Skywalker's sword lost 53% of his HP. The difference was less than 1%. In the end, Xiao Yao Feng won by a close margin with a normal attack. He took first place in the individual tournament. Ni Lan walked up the stage and said to Xiao Yao Feng excitedly, Xiao Yao, I don't need to introduce you. Xiao Yao, the leader of an old guild. Do you have anything to say to everyone after taking first place? Xiao Yao shook his head. Ni Lan was a little depressed. We're all experts, so quiet, say it. Tell me your thoughts. Xiao Yao Feng thought for a while and finally took the microphone. He looked at everyone below the stage and laughed at himself. Everyone knows that my first place is just an empty title. Everyone in the arena quietened down. I don't dare to speak about the situation of the other servers. After all, their route has become more and more different from our Huaxia server after the closed beta players appeared. However, in the Huaxia server, there are only 2 people who are worthy of first place. After Xiao Yao Feng finished speaking, he looked at Lu Chen, who was below the stage. Xiao Yao nodded slightly at Lu Chen. Many people said that Mad God and Nameless broke the balance of the game. However, I don't think so. I want to thank them for their existence. They let me know that there's always someone better than me. They let me know that Jiutian is a magnificent world. There are many unimaginable legendary treasures waiting for us to discover. I also want to thank them for giving me the motivation to become stronger. The merging of the servers is imminent. The merging of the Asian servers should happen soon after the merging of the servers. This is a challenge, but also an opportunity. Nameless, don't be too proud. Xiao Yao smiled, don't let us give up on chasing after your footsteps. We, the players of the Huaxia server, will never admit defeat. After being called out, Lu Chen was not angry at all. He took a step forward and smiled at Xiao Yao Feng. He nodded slightly at him and showed a look of approval. Clap 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 clap, Nameless raised both hands and led the applause. Xiao Yao, well said. This Jiutian is more interesting. Chapter 257. The 100-day celebration of the Jiutian server had ended. Although the Huaxia server was unfortunate enough to encounter the Bone King, it was still a successful completion. After the competition, Lu Chen returned to his territory. This time, he had obtained 2 more dark gold equipment from killing the Bone King. Lu Chen checked the attributes of the 2 equipment. Undead Throne, Dark Gold, Strength 1900, Agility 1800, Physique 2200, Spiritual Power 200, Special Effect 1, Symbol of Identity. Damage to undead creatures increased by 30%. Lu Chen almost vomited blood. Fuck, do you have to be so capricious? Symbol of Identity, Special Effect 2, Soul Capture. As long as a unit dies within a 100-meter radius of the player, the Undead Throne will absorb 1 soul value of the dead unit and keep it as reserve. The reserve limit is player's level *1000. Special Effect 3, Soul Crystal. When the soul reserve is more than 50%, a Demon God Fragment and a Demon God Heart can be formed every month. Lu Chen blinked his eyes. Treasures have such a function. Although Lu Chen had not used these 2 materials yet, he could tell that the level of these items was very high based on the owner's information. It was very likely that they were the follow-up materials of the ancient materials. The Bone King was already dead. What was depressing was that it had destroyed the dungeon. In other words, he would not be able to farm the Bone King in the future. Naturally, he would not be able to get the Demon God materials. To be able to automatically form such a level of material every month was definitely a huge fortune. Special Effect 4, Shield Replenishment. Use the souls collected to replenish the durability of any type of shield. 1 soul value will replenish 1 point of durability. When replenishing a soul-type shield, 1 soul value will replenish 5 points of durability. Lu Chen now understood that the reason why the Bone King had been able to replenish its shield was because of this dark gold treasure. Lu Chen also had a shield, but unfortunately, his blood sacrifice shield was not a soul-type shield. 1 soul value could only replenish 1 point. Lu Chen looked at his current spiritual power value. The maximum soul reserve was more than 700,000. This meant that his shield could block more than 700,000 damage, which was already very good. Not bad, not bad. As expected of a dark gold artifact. Although it's not an attack type, its basic attributes are high and its special effects are also very strong. The advantage of magical equipment was that there was no limit to the number of magical equipment. Players could equip a large number of magical equipment. As long as you had the ability to obtain them, you could use them. Compared to the throne, which focused on defense and resource production, the other dark gold equipment focused entirely on attack. Bone King's Assault Ring, level 50 dark gold, attack, physical attack 1000 to 2000, magic attack 300, there's such a huge difference between the upper and lower attack limits. It was Lu Chen's first time seeing such unique equipment. Strength 2300, Agility 2000, Physique 1700, Spiritual Power 200, at the dark gold grade, equipment generally began to add spiritual power. Special Effect 1, Rapid Onslaught. Increases attack speed by 200%. All attacks will only deal the highest damage. Duration, 30 seconds. Cooldown, 300 minutes. Special Effect 2, Blade Storm, transform into a Blade Storm and attack all targets within the range of the Blade Storm. All enemies within a 50-meter radius will be immune to continuous damage while casting Blade Storm. Duration, 100 seconds, cooldown, 600 seconds. Special Effect 3, in a state of war, all techniques will be lowered. Special Effect cooldown, 10 seconds. Lu Chen was completely stunned. The Bone King's attack was very strong. His only weakness was probably his lack of control. If he didn't stun him infinitely, he would be in danger if he used Rapid Onslaught. Blade Storm was a godly AoE skill. The main point was this somewhat inconspicuous state of war. The cooldown of all skills was reduced by 10 seconds. Lu Chen could use rapid movement twice within 20 seconds. Moreover, the Devil equipment set also had the Demon King's Will, which could refresh the cooldown of skills with a cooldown of less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes was the cooldown of many powerful skills, such as Doppelganger, Blade Storm, Devil's Pardon, which could nullify the opponent's skill once, and the most disgusting skill in history, Devour. In the past, the Demon King's Will couldn't refresh these skills because their cooldown was stuck at 10 minutes. However, with the reduction of 10 seconds, there was a qualitative change. They could be refreshed by the Demon King's Will. Right, the effect of the Muchin Pearl seems to have improved too. The Muchin Pearl collected pure spiritual energy once a minute, but now it was once every 50 seconds. Also, if I use Doppelganger twice, will there be a situation? Lu Chen thought of this and immediately used Doppelganger. A total of 6 Doppelganger appeared beside him. Demon King's Will. Demon Doppelganger. Wishful Doppelganger. The 2 Doppelganger belonged to 2 pieces of equipment. In an instant, Lu Chen had Doppelganger again. 12 Doppelganger stood beside Lu Chen. My God! Lu Chen was so excited that he almost couldn't count. What he wanted to confirm was this point. After the Doppelganger was refreshed, would the original Doppelganger still exist? Now it seemed that unless the Doppelganger disappeared automatically or Lu Chen took the initiative to make it disappear, the original Doppelganger wouldn't disappear after the skill was refreshed. In other words, Lu Chen could now have 12 Doppelganger at most. Too strong, too strong. Lu Chen was so excited that he was somewhat incoherent. This was equivalent to his combat power almost doubled. These 2 pieces of equipment once again proved the strength of dark gold equipment. After his strength increased again, Lu Chen's gaze fell on the God and Devil invitation. It's time to take a look at the God and Devil Palace. After using the invitation, Lu Chen was directly teleported to a strange space. He couldn't see the ground here and it was pitch black below his feet. However, Lu Chen could feel that he was standing here. In front of him, there were 2 huge dungeon entrances. The entrances were in a state of chaos. In the middle of the 2 doors stood an old man. Lu Chen actually knew this old man. Upon seeing this old man, Lu Chen's first words were, "Old man, you're actually here?" "That. I'm a little thirsty. Do you still have tea?" This old man's cup of tea increased his spiritual energy by 50 points. Lu Chen couldn't wait to drink 10 pots of it. The old man smiled slightly. "Young man, we meet again. However, this time I don't have tea to entertain you. Did you see the words above my head?" Lu Chen really didn't pay attention to the old man's ID just now. He was thinking about the immortal tea. At this moment, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. The words above the old man's head were, "Scattered immortal remnant soul." The old man was really an immortal. Although he was only a scattered immortal, he was still an immortal. However, this time, Lu Chen actually encountered the old man's remnant soul. "My main body has already left. This is a remnant soul that I left behind. Naturally, I can't entertain you." The old man smiled kindly. "Oh right, how is my rhubarb?" Lu Chen directly called out rhubarb from the beast pen. When Rhubarb saw the old man, it wagged its tail so hard that it almost flew up. Ha ha ha, Rhubarb, you've gained weight again. Looks like your new master didn't mistreat you. Lu Chen was a little puzzled. Did Rhubarb eat? Divine beasts ate pure spiritual energy and soul essences. However, Rhubarb didn't eat anything. How did it gain weight? Could it be that it was beaten up by those little fellows? Seeing Rhubarb, the old man seemed very happy. He smiled and said, "Young man, if fate wills it, perhaps we'll meet again in a certain heaven domain. At that time, remember to bring Rhubarb along." "Okay, I'll remember." The old man nodded slightly, all right. Let's stop reminiscing here. Next, let's take the test. Lu Chen frowned. Test? Test your divine demon attribute. The old man said indifferently. Chapter 258. Elder, are divine demons of the divine demon attribute? Lu Chen asked, puzzled. Infinity gives birth to Tai Chi, and Tai Chi gives birth to Yin and Yang. Everyone has both good and evil in their body. This is the divine demon attribute of each person, the old man explained patiently. Of course, everyone's divine demon attribute is not equal. This is related to the environment, people, and things they encounter. Therefore, everyone's divine demon attribute is different. The game had actually started to discuss life. However, the old man's explanation was still easy to understand. Lu Chen roughly understood. Elder, what does the divine demon attribute test have to do with the divine demon temple? The old man smiled and said slowly, the divine demon temple is actually made up of two places, the temple of God and the demon temple. As you can see, there are two doors here. If you test more divinity, you'll enter the temple of God. If you test more divinity, you'll enter the demon temple. Elder, if I only enter one of the dungeons, will it be considered as clearing the divine demon temple? No. Lu Chen was hit by 1,000,000 points of critical hit. What kind of fucking rule was this? There were two dungeons in the divine demon temple, but he could only challenge one. So the question was, how was he going to complete the divine demon seed mission? No matter how high Lu Chen's martial strength is now, he can't do anything when encountering such a thing. There was no solution. Elder, this, can we discuss? Open a back door or something? There must be a way, right? You know I have the divine demon seed mission, right? I'm getting closer and closer to the final success. I can't just give up like this. Lu Chen was a little agitated. His voice was trembling as he spoke. Speaking of which, he had only glanced at the mission. He did not think he could complete it at all, so he did not take it seriously. However, it was different now. Of the 4 ultimate divine beasts, he had already obtained 2, the Azure Dragon and the Aurora White Tiger. Of the 4 ultimate divine beasts, he had obtained the Black Rock Dragon Emperor, the Purple Flame Phoenix, and the Sky-Devouring Demonic Tiger. Of the 3 dungeons, he had cleared the Twilight of the Gods, and now he had found the Demon Temple. It was no exaggeration to say that none of the missions he had completed were easy. None of them could be completed by a normal person. After going through so many hardships and seeing that he was getting closer and closer to his goal, Lu Chen was naturally unwilling to accept his failure because of the rules. However, the old man remained unmoved. A faint smile still hung on his face. This is not something that I can decide. This is the rule. Unless you can surpass the rule one day, you can only obey. The only thing Lu Chen could do was shake his head. He kept shaking his head, feeling an unprecedented sense of powerlessness. The old man didn't say a word as he watched Lu Chen on the verge of breaking down. After a long time, Lu Chen suddenly raised his head and stared at the old man. No, I don't believe in rules. Rules are made by people, so why can't I break them? There must be another way. Otherwise, this mission wouldn't even exist. If the Bone King can break the dungeon that binds it, why can't I break the demonic palace? After seeing Lu Chen's transformation, the old man's eyes flashed with praise and gratification. It seemed that this young man didn't just rely on luck to get to where he was today. Then, are you going to take the test or not? The old man smiled at Lu Chen. Lu Chen took a deep breath and said resolutely, "Take the test. No matter what, I have to enter a dungeon first." The old man nodded. He stretched out one hand and stood between him and Lu Chen. A translucent circular yin and yang formation appeared in front of Lu Chen. "Calm down and don't set up any defenses. Otherwise, the test will be biased," the old man said. Although Lu Chen didn't care about the results of the test, he was still curious. Did he have more divinity or magic? Lu Chen took a deep breath and calmed himself down. The yin and yang formation began to rotate on its own. The black and white parts merged, separated, merged again, and separated again. Lu Chen couldn't understand what this meant. In short, it looked like the black and white parts were competing and transforming. It also seemed like they were fusing and coexisting. It felt quite magical. After a while, the final results came out. Lu Chen couldn't understand the yin and yang formation, but he could read the data on it. Divinity, 50% magic, 50%, holy shit. Lu Chen never expected the results to be like this. "Old man, this isn't right. I think I should have more divinity. Is it related to my negative mood just now?" The old man smiled. "Your mood was stable during the test. You met the test requirements, so I gave you the test. There's no deviation in this result. Magic doesn't have to kill people and set fires. Selfishness, greed, and hatred are all types of magic. You can ask yourself, are you selfish? Are you greedy?" Lu Chen didn't even have to think about it. He knew himself quite well. "Old man, if you put it that way, I'm actually quite selfish. Greed, I'm actually quite greedy. If that's the case, 50-50 is actually quite reasonable." The old man laughed. "That's it. You have a good side and a bad side. Then, with my results, does it mean that I can enter both dungeons?" "Yes, you can enter both dungeons." Lu Chen's eyes widened. This was really an unexpected surprise. He felt like he had climbed from hell to heaven. "Ha ha ha, that's great." "Young man," the old man suddenly interrupted Lu Chen's laughter. "Do you still remember what I said to you when we first met? You invited me to tea. Not this, take care of rhubarb. Could it be a mythological beast?" By the way, old man, do you know where a mythological beast is? The old man was speechless. "A mythological beast, I think you should have guessed where it is." Lu Chen nodded. "There should be one in Firmament City." At that time, Bone King didn't dare to enter Firmament City. "I guess it's a very strong mythological beast's remnant soul." Would Bone King be afraid of a mythological beast? The old man gave Lu Chen a meaningful look. "You'll have to find out for yourself, but that's not what I want to say, Lu Chen, remember my words. Whether you become a solipsistic or a nameless, it's up to you." With that, the old man's remnant soul gradually blurred and finally disappeared. Now, there were only 2 doors in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen pondered the old man's 2 points. Would Bone King be afraid of a mythological beast? With Bone King's strength, even the strongest mythological beast remnant soul, the heaven-devouring demonic tiger, was far from its opponent. Why wouldn't it dare to attack Firmament City? Suddenly, Lu Chen's eyes flashed. Yes, Bone King wouldn't be afraid of a mythological beast, but what if Firmament City has more than one mythological beast guarding the mountain? A level 10 main city like Immortal Mountain had a mythological beast remnant soul guarding the mountain. It was completely reasonable for Firmament City to have a few. Also, Bone King could get so close to Firmament City, but the mythological beasts didn't take the initiative to attack. And Bone King didn't attack Firmament City. In that case, it's very likely that the mythological beasts of Firmament City are better at defense. They may not be able to kill Bone King, but it's also very difficult for Bone King to capture Firmament City. This important clue gave Lu Chen hope of finding the remaining mythological beasts, but Lu Chen couldn't be sure of this matter for the time being. He needed to verify it in the future. As for the choice between solipsistic and nameless, Lu Chen seemed to have understood something. Could it be related to divinity and demonic nature? Lu Chen shook his head. This choice was still too early for him. Forget it, let's go through the demonic god temple first. With that, Lu Chen thought for a while and entered the temple first. Chapter 259. The interior of the temple was magnificent, and the light was bright and beautiful. The entire dungeon gave people a comfortable feeling of being enlightened. Lu Chen did not dare to be careless and walked carefully in the dungeon. Why are there no monsters? Lu Chen walked for a long time and did not see any traces of monsters. Not long after, he came to a hall. There was still no one here. In the middle of the hall, there was a long wooden table with a scroll on it. It seemed to be open. Lu Chen was very careful now. He used the wishful staff to create a clone to explore the way. The clone walked to the table and there was no movement around. Lu Chen made sure it was safe and walked over. Strange, there are no monsters in this dungeon. Lu Chen frowned and then his eyes fell on the long open scroll. There was actually a mission written on it. Mission, Mortal Divine Power, Epic Mission, Mission Description. How can a mortal bear the power of God? It cannot be done without caring for the people. Mission content: 1. Cultivate divine power in the temple for 30 days, 1 hour downtime per day. 2. Kill the Tong Tian Tower bosses, Tong Tian Left Demon God, and Tong Tian Right Priest, alone. Mission reward: activate the power of divine power. Very good, it's not surprising at all. Lu Chen was not angry at all. Cultivate for 30 days and give me an hour of rest every day? Even a capitalist would not dare to be so excessive. Motherfucker, a first heaven quest is to kill the boss of Tong Tian Tower. Can you be any more perverted? Lu Chen shook his head. Anyway, he must try the Tong Tian Tower. The two bosses should be the two bosses before the heavenly domain boss. He should be able to kill them. Speaking of which, what is divine power? Lu Chen remembered very clearly that when the Bone King killed Quafu, he said that a god without divine power was not a god. From this point of view, it should be a very powerful ability. At least, it would be helpful for Lu Chen to defeat the final heavenly domain boss. There were no wild monsters in the temple, only a quest. It seemed that they had to complete this quest to clear the level. Lu Chen thought about it and called Louis first. Louis, buy groceries and cook for the next few days. I'm going to clear dungeons. Oh, got it. But bro, what kind of dungeon do you need a few days to complete? Hidden instance dungeon, not several days, but 30 days. For the next 30 days, I'll only be offline for 1 hour a day, including eating, drinking, and going to the toilet. Ah. How could there be such a ridiculous instance dungeon? I got it. I'll call you every day when I'm done cooking. After instructing his sister, Lu Chen accepted the Divine Power of Mortals mission. There was a praying mat in front of the long table. It seemed to be used for cultivation. Lu Chen sat on it. So how should I cultivate? Is it like cultivating pure spiritual energy? Lu Chen was at a loss. However, at this moment, in the temple dungeon, there was a faint golden stream of air. It was thin and weak, circling Lu Chen's body, until it entered Lu Chen's body. Lu Chen checked his own attributes. Under the Elixir tab, he had a new attribute. Divine Power of Mortals, 0/40,000, about a minute later, Divine Power of Mortals became 1. I've already collected 1 point. Looks like I'll just have to sit like this. Lu Chen sat cross-legged. 1 point per minute. 23 hours per day. That means he could collect 41,400 points in 20 days. Damn, this calculation is too accurate. That means I can't waste any time if I want to level up. 10 minutes later, Lu Chen, who had nothing to do, fell asleep. However, this did not affect him from collecting divine power. What he needed to do now was to wait for the 30 days to come out. From then on, the matter of buying groceries and cooking was handed over to Lu Yi. After Lu Yi finished cooking, she would call Lu Chen over to eat when the food was a little cold. There were 3 meals a day. Lu Chen could not eat for more than 15 minutes at a time. 10 days later, the siblings sat at the dining table. Lu Chen held the bowl of rice and ate. "Brother, why do you need 20 days to complete that dungeon?" Lu Yi asked curiously. "There's a quest in the dungeon that requires me to cultivate for 20 days. Lu Yi also knew that her brother's current realm was not something she could understand, so she did not ask too much. She was just a little worried that her brother's body would not be able to take it. "Brother, you've been in the game all this time without exercising at all. You don't even have time to sleep. Are you sure you're okay?" Lu Chen smiled. Wasn't this what he always told his sister in the past? She had to train and sleep early. In the end, he had to go without sleep for 30 days. "Actually, I'm not that tired. When I'm cultivating inside, I'm either looking at the official website or sleeping. I just don't have time to exercise. When this dungeon is over, I must exercise properly." Staying in the temple for a month with nothing to do was really not an easy task. Fortunately, as he endured, there would always be an end to it. When the 30th day really came, the past 30 days seemed to have passed in the blink of an eye. On the 30th day of the nameless disappearance, Lu Chen's mortal might had leveled up to level 1. Lu Chen noticed that the first condition of the quest had been completed. Then, the dungeon's exit appeared in front of him. After exiting the dungeon, Lu Chen once again returned to the entrance of the demonic temple. The entrance of the temple gradually disappeared. After a while, only the entrance of the demonic temple was left. Lu Chen entered the demonic temple nervously. The environment of the demonic temple was completely different from that of the temple. It was surrounded by black fog, the light was dim, and there was a gloomy atmosphere everywhere. However, as soon as he entered the dungeon, Lu Chen's heart turned cold. Fuck, there are no monsters again. It's over. Lu Chen realized that something was wrong. As expected, when he walked to a large hall carved with unknown monsters, Lu Chen saw a long table. Quest, Mortal Might of Magic, Epic Quest, Quest Description, how can a mortal bear the might of magic? Unless there is a demon in the heart, it can't be done. Quest Details, 1. Cultivate the might of magic in the temple for 30 days, 1 hour daily offline time. 2. After becoming a demon, slaughter Firmament City for 3 days. Including the guardian beasts, guards, players, and NPCs. No living person in the city for 3 days. Quest Reward, activate the might of magic. Fuck. Lu Chen was stunned. The might of magic was really too perverted. Slaughter the city for 3 days, leaving no survivors in the city. This is really something that a demon should do. Lu Chen was a little hesitant. This was a real massacre of the city. Although he was a little conflicted, Lu Chen finally accepted the quest. I've already come this far. I can't give up the quest for those players. Lu Chen frowned. He had done things like killing players before. As long as he did not do what the Bone King did and bind the souls of the dead, it was fine. After all, the players could be revived. At worst, they could not enter the city for 3 days. He could even release the news in advance, telling the players not to enter the city for 3 days. Of course, even so, there would be people who would curse Lu Chen. Perhaps this was the price to pay for obtaining the might of magic. God's blood demon seed, What are you? Li Muhua said that Jiutian is not a simple game. Then what are you? Lu Chen felt more and more that Jiutian was different. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. To understand all this, he could only complete this quest. Even if he had to become a demon. Chapter 260. The Jiutian server had only been open for 100 days, and Lu Chen had disappeared for 60 days. In these 60 days, the Huaxia server had undergone tremendous changes. Players had leveled up, their equipment had improved, and their skills had improved. In terms of classes, a large number of players had changed their classes to more precise subclasses. For example, Pugilist could change their class to Dancer, or they could change their class to Archer, Explosives Expert could change their class to Firearm Expert, Hidden Weapon Expert, and so on. On the other hand, the Jiutian server had finally merged with the Huaxia server. With Firmament City as the dividing line, the servers south of Firmament City retained their respective subdivisions, while the servers north of Firmament City entered the state of merging. The officials even released news that the Asia server would merge in 3 days' time. Currently, the main areas of activity for the top players were mainly concentrated in the level 40 map dungeons. When Lu Chen came out from the Arcosios Sanctuary, he realized that the Jiutian server had undergone tremendous changes compared to the Jiutian that he knew before. Lu Chen first returned to Ren Ai Peak to check on the dungeon. After 60 days of accumulation, the soul essences that he had accumulated were almost full. With 1.5 million soul essences, I can synthesize 50 soul essences with attributes. It's enough for me to level up an ultimate divine beast, or to grow Lionhead and Little Cow to a new stage. Lionhead and Little Cow were currently in their teenage stage. Other than the soul essences and pure spiritual energy, they also needed 100 purple beast cores to grow. Thinking about this, Lu Chen was not in a hurry to use up the soul essences. If he could get so many beast cores, he could then level them up. After taking out the soul essences and putting them into the army's warehouse, Lu Chen went to the Frenzy Guild's territory. The Frenzy Guild was now a level 4 guild, and the maximum number of members had increased to 2,000. It was currently full. What surprised Lu Chen was that there were already more than 20 max level players in the guild. This should be attributed to Stardust and the others who had been helping the players level up. When everyone saw that their guild master had returned, they immediately surrounded him. Guild master, you finally appeared. If he didn't say that you were busy, we would have thought that you were missing, said 10 Steps excitedly. It's been 2 months. Guild master, where have you been? Master! Master! Ning Shuang rushed over from afar. Master, I missed you so much. Lu Chen glanced at Ning Shuang. This girl had also reached level 50. That made sense. When he left, Ning Shuang was already 4 out of 8. After 2 months, it wasn't strange for her to reach level 50. Everyone's leveling up really quickly, Lu Chen laughed. Guild leader, you left the Divine Marshal set in the guild. I've temporarily assigned it to Stardust and Black Hole. With these 2 sets of equipment, they'll be able to help us level up much faster, Fallen Flower said. Lu Chen smiled and nodded. As expected of Leng Nuo. This was definitely a wise decision. She had the strongest person take the equipment and lead the others to level up. Right, guild leader, the various powerful guilds are currently raiding the Sky Tower. Leng Nuo said, we've come into contact with the first boss, but that guy is too strong. Oh, by the way, a few guilds managed to defeat the first boss, but it seems like they were helped by the 4 players who fought the Bone King. Lu Chen went into seclusion for 60 days. He didn't expect Jiutian to develop so quickly. The official website announced that the Asia server would merge 3 days later. This timing was very awkward. Lu Chen's Devil's Might quest required him to massacre the entire city for 3 days. It would be best if he could massacre the entire city before the servers merged. After all, Huaxia's players still knew him. At that time, if he told them in advance, most of the players wouldn't go to Firmament City. It would save him a lot of trouble. But now, the servers would merge 3 days later. Even if Lu Chen took down Firmament City now, it would be hard to say what would happen if the time was reset when the servers merged. So even if Lu Chen didn't want to massacre the entire city right after the servers merged, he didn't have a better way. The God's Might quest required him to kill 2 Sky Tower bosses, but it had to be done solo. Lu Chen couldn't team up with Wild Waves. It seemed like Lu Chen could only find time to kill the 2 Sky Tower bosses first. Then, he could massacre the entire city after the servers merged. Noa. Lu Chen said, in the next few days, get people to stock up on consumable materials, such as healing medicine, miscellaneous energy-gathering pills, and so on. They'll be useful after taking them. The stockpiled amount is enough for a 3-day trial. Ah. Oh, I'll get people to do it right away. Leng Noa didn't have any doubts about her guild master's words. Even if she didn't know the reason, since her guild master said so, there must be a reason. After saying that, Lu Chen looked at Ning Shuang. Ning Shuang, your level is already full. I don't need to bring you to level up anymore. Master, but I want to follow you. Lu Chen smiled, there will be a chance in the future. Now, you are qualified to take in disciples. Bring others to level up first. This. Okay. After saying that to his good friend, Lu Chen spread his wings and flew straight to the level 40 map. In the sky, a tall tower stood high in the clouds. In the sky and in the desert, many mounts were heading in that direction. Opening the second heaven in advance had an extraordinary meaning for any server. Not only would it lead the other servers in terms of level, but it would also be the best proof of strength. Currently, some of the strongest guilds in the world were exploring the Tower of Babel. That tower had already become the highest peak in the hearts of the top players. Tower of Babel. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Perhaps that tower was too tall. Although it didn't look far, the journey was actually not short. 9-winged sky dragon. Lu Chen waved his hand, and a 9-winged dragon appeared under Lu Chen's feet. Roar. With a roar, all the mounts around him gave way and stopped in their tracks. They stared at the absolute king of mounts and watched him leave. That is... Nameless? Nameless is back. A player asked curiously. Of course it's Nameless. He's the only one in the world who has that mount. I heard that Nameless disappeared for 2 months. 2 months. Now, many people are at level 50. Nameless' advantage is completely gone. Is he going to clear the Tower of Babel? I think his thinking is still stuck at 2 months ago. None of the bosses are easy to deal with. Even Nameless would be at a disadvantage. In the past, people could only look up to Nameless' level and equipment. However, things were different now. Nameless was at level 50. Many people were also at level 50. Although their equipment was a bit worse, at least they had caught up to Nameless. Just as Happy Wind said, Huaxia players would not give in. They would slowly catch up to Wu Min. Of course, Nameless had disappeared for 60 days, but people still couldn't forget the name of the war god. When Nameless stood in front of the Tower of Babel, the surrounding players suddenly exclaimed. It's Brother Nameless. Brother Nameless has rushed out of the game. Brother Nameless also came to clear the Tower of Babel. Brother Nameless, this dungeon is super difficult. You can't do it alone. Lu Chen smiled at these people, I don't fight Sky Domain bosses. In the crowd, someone asked his teammate, God Jiu-Si, do you think Nameless can clear the Tower of Babel? Before Jiu-Si could speak, Sengoku snorted, didn't you hear him say that he doesn't fight Sky Domain bosses? At least he has some self-awareness. Shuangxi also said, don't count on him. A person's strength is the priority. With the current equipment given out by the Jiutian First Sky Domain, it's impossible to clear the Sky Domain bosses. Don't waste time. We still have orders after helping you fight the first boss. Tell your people to hurry up. Okay. The people who went to buy the medicine will be back soon. At this time, Nameless finally stepped into the Tower of Babel. Chapter 261. Tong Tian Tower was known as the Jotian's world barrier by the players. Skyway had announced publicly that Jotian had been installed with the default program in the early stages of development. As long as a player could defeat the first Heaven Domain boss, Demon Lord Tong Tian, the game would automatically unlock the second Heaven Domain. Although the first Heaven Domain had many fortuitous encounters, hidden missions, and hidden dungeons, the players would only be level 50 when they went online. Only by unlocking the second Heaven Domain could the players break through the level limit of 50. Most importantly, Skyway had announced that with the opening of the second Heaven Domain, the potential of all the major professions would be unleashed. At the same time, the world's players would face even more terrifying challenges, as well as other surprises beyond human imagination. One had to admit that Skyway was good at making games, but they were even better at keeping players in suspense. By making such a big surprise, any player would be excited. There were many rumors circulating among the players. It was said that the second Heaven Domain was filled with dark gold, top-grade profession materials, top-grade babies, fortuitous encounter missions, high yellow rank skills. This was also why even though the Tong Tian Tower was littered with corpses, the players were still trying to challenge the undefeatable existence. Even so, Demon Lord Tong Tian still used his unparalleled strength to stop billions of players and guard the Heaven Domain. How strong was the Bone King? No one dared to mention Tong Tian Tower. Tong Tian Tower was like a path to the heavens. It was impressive, but not feasible. Lu Qin took a deep breath and stepped into Tong Tian Tower. After entering the tower, Lu Qin entered an octagonal room. The room was huge, with each side being 200 to 300 meters long. There was not a single monster inside. Lu Qin was already suffering from the aftereffects. Seeing that there were no monsters in the dungeon, he was not happy at all. Instead, he was a little scared. No way, bro, there are no monsters. Although there were no monsters in the Infernal Shrine, Lu Qin had used 60 days to clear it, and he had not even cleared it yet. There were still 2 crazy missions waiting for him. Luckily, this was Tong Tian Tower. They had been through it so many times that they would not play like the Infernal Shrine. In the octagonal room, there was a door on each side of the 4 sides. Lu Qin frowned slightly. That's not right. I remember Xingqian said that there were only 3 rooms. The east and west doors led to the left and right entrances. The 20-meter-tall door in the north led to Demon Venerable Heavenly Master's room. However, what the hell was that door in the south? No one seemed to have mentioned it before. I think I'm the only one who has encountered such a situation. Lu Qin couldn't help but think of his own quest. Because of that quest, his Tower of Babel had an extra door compared to others. Lu Qin knew that sometimes, opportunities were fleeting. In any case, the divine might of the mortal body mission was right there. He could go and kill the left and right companions at any time. As for this door, he might not be able to encounter it again. Thinking of this, Lu Qin walked towards the southern door. He tried to push the door, but it didn't budge. However, the system did give him some hints. The cycle of life and death is like looking at flowers in a mirror. Life is death, emptiness is reality, entry is exit, inside is outside. Lu Qin was speechless. Shit, what the hell? Although Lu Qin couldn't understand this paragraph, he still remembered it. After all, there wouldn't be such a useless paragraph in the game. It might have something to do with a mythical beast or a hidden dungeon. After studying it for a while, Lu Qin temporarily gave up on exploring this door. I can't open it. You have to be ruthless. Lu Qin turned and walked towards the eastern door. This was a room on the side of Babel Tower, but it was many times bigger than the octagonal room in the center. This was the room of Demon Venerable Heavenly Master. There were finally some small monsters here. There weren't many of them, only a few dozen. However, each of them was more than 10 meters tall. The logo on their heads also proved that they were all bosses. No wonder it was so difficult for max-level players to explore the dungeon. Their minions are all bosses. Lu Chen sighed and pulled the mini bosses together to clean them up. This time, Lu Chen didn't test their strength. The reason was simple. A dungeon that could be cleared by a team of max-level players was a piece of cake for him. Even the Demon Venerable Heavenly Master only dropped divine equipment. Lu Chen could have been here long ago, not to mention now that his strength had increased by several times. The Demon Venerable Heavenly Master dropped 7-star materials and some purple equipment with good attributes. Lu Chen was very familiar with these equipment. When he slaughtered 600 max-level players, they dropped these equipment. Each of them should be worth tens of thousands. Small money is still money. When the time comes, I'll just throw them in the trading area. After his net worth reached hundreds of millions, Lu Chen still hadn't gotten rid of his greedy habit. The last one standing in front of him was a species that he had never seen before. Half of its body was black, and the other half was covered in flames. Its body was long and narrow, and its face was cunning. It held a staff in its hand. I suddenly feel a sense of familiarity. Lu Chen looked at the Demon Venerable Heavenly Master's right hand. Speaking of which, this priestess was made up of 2 forms, and Lu Chen's body was made up of a bunch of messy things. In that case, Lu Chen was even better. Trespassers of the Tower of Babel shall die. Weak humans, prepare to receive the punishment of fire and darkness. The priestess recited its lines and waved its staff. Lu Chen immediately found a large number of skill release points around him. With the help of the Eye of the Dark Gods, he had already seen that the priestess' next skill was a large area of effect skill. Night Flaming Meteor. A large number of meteors fell from the sky, almost covering the entire Demon Venerable Heavenly Master's room. These meteors also had an abnormal characteristic. They appeared and disappeared in the night sky, presumably due to their dark attributes. This way, it was extremely difficult for players to predict where the meteors would land. However, Lu Chen could easily avoid them as long as he looked at the landing point on the ground. This skill is really strong, especially when used against a team. A single skill could cause a team wipe. Lu Chen stood in a small safe area and waited. Boom 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 boom. The meteors bombarded the Demon Venerable Heavenly Master's room. Wherever the meteors hit, a huge crater would appear on the ground. Meteor Giant. The Demon Venerable Heavenly Master growled, preparing to release its second skill. Lu Chen shook his head. The priestess skill was not interesting, and he didn't want to learn it. This guy should be a high-level prophet. In other words, he could be considered a magician. Although I'm not in a hurry, I feel that you're not interesting, so I won't play with you. Earth-Splitting Chasm. Lu Chen instantly released his skill. At this moment, the Demon Venerable Heavenly Master actually stopped releasing its skill and quickly changed its move. Night Shadow. In the next moment, it had already escaped the range of the Earth-Splitting Chasm. Teleportation skill. Lu Chen was stunned. Not bad, not bad. This skill is not bad. With Lu Chen's current reputation points, he could have already bought the Black Level Skill Summary Scroll. He immediately bought the scroll. If I have this skill, combined with 2 rapid movements and the Demon King's will, my agility will definitely go up a level. I must get this skill. Chapter 262. God bless me, I hope it's an original skill. Don't give me an equipment effect. Lu Chen prayed in his heart. Speaking of which, it was normal for a mage that relied on skills to have a displacement skill. Moreover, night teleportation was very compatible with the boss's attributes, so the possibility of an active skill was very high. Why did Lu Chen hope that night doppelganger was an active skill? One thing to note was that Lu Chen had the skill, steal, but the skills, steal, no matter if it was a special effect or an active skill, were all stolen by the devil set's steal, so they would all be classified as equipment effects. However, if it was a skill that Lu Chen learned himself, then it would become an active skill of Lu Chen. Active skills and equipment effects. The biggest impact of active skills was on the devil doppelganger. Lu Chen never forgot that the doppelganger of the devil set could inherit passive skills, and could also use the master's active skills. Think about it, if out of the 12 doppelganger, 10 of them could use night teleportation, then how terrifying would it be if they worked together? This was also the reason why Lu Chen was so excited when he saw this skill. Although Lu Chen didn't know the cooldown of night teleportation, the shaman was afraid of getting close. Lu Chen just had to pretend to get close from time to time, and it would be easy to force the shaman to use the displacement skill. 60 seconds later, Lu Chen got close again, and as expected, forced the shaman to use night teleportation. Lu Chen directly used the black level skill copy. A golden light flashed, and Lu Chen clearly saw that the originally blank scroll had words on it. Ha ha ha, it's really an active skill, this is awesome. With the skill in hand, Lu Chen didn't need to keep his right hand anymore. Let's see if my 12 doppelganger is strong. War God Possession. Transform. Doppelganger. Demon King will refresh. Doppelganger. The 12 demons with War God Possession behind them bared their teeth. Some shamans didn't intend to sit still and use a stronger skill. Black Hell Flame. A large amount of black flames appeared on the ground, but at this moment, 10 of the 12 clones used Night Shadow at the same time. For a moment, only a blurry figure could be seen on the battlefield, and in an instant, there was already a clone in front of the right priest. Dodging 10 doppelgangers with Dark Night Shadow was an impossible task. When the doppelgangers attacked, they quickly became dizzy. Although the right priest's stun duration was only 0.5 seconds, his HP exceeded Lu Chen's expectations, reaching 60 million. But with a 9.6% stun rate and 3 consecutive hits, unless the right priestess had a specific magic treasure or a skill to dispel the stun, otherwise, it was already dead. Lu Chen was also lazy. After all, he had 12 doppelgangers in the fight. It didn't matter if he had one more doppelganger or not. He simply found a spot to rest. Come on. You can do it. I have high hopes for all of you. Lu Chen encouraged his doppelgangers and mentally supported them. Speaking of which, the right priest actually had a life-saving skill. When its HP fell to 30%, it broke free from all the attacks and forcefully woke up from the stun. It raised its head and roared. Damned humans, I will not let you go. I will. The group of doppelgangers did not say anything else and used Night Shadow to charge forward. The right priest was once again dizzy. Lu Chen could not watch it anymore. Damn, you guys are too fierce. In any case, let it finish its lines. Being dizzy to the point that it did not even have the chance to finish its lines, this right priest was probably the most miserable boss in history. Not long later, the doppelgangers finished their battle. Killed Tong Tian right priest, level 50 Heaven's Tower boss. Obtained 10 million world aura. Obtained 5 rank 9 talent fragment. Obtained 5 evolution points from 9 stars. Collected 25 pure aura. With the fake Mukan bead, other than obtaining pure aura, Lu Chen could now obtain pure aura whenever he killed monsters. Moreover, he could obtain 25 points at once. Only 10 million experience. Lu Chen shook his head. Looks like you are a bit weaker than the Bone King. The equipment drop did not exceed what the top players had. He either gave it to Lu Yi, Ning Shuang, and the others or threw it into the trading area. The Divine Might of Mortal Quest says that the first boss has been dealt with. There is still God's mo left. Time was always short. After getting rid of the right priest, Lu Chen stood up and patted his butt. Next. Lu Chen was still hanging up and calling left devil God when Li Muhua called. Since he was bored right now, Lu Chen picked up the call. My Chen. Can you not call me so corny? What are you doing? The two of them were becoming more and more familiar with each other. They did not have the strange feeling from before and were becoming more and more casual. Hee, what are you doing? Heaven's Tower. No way, you went to mess with Demon Overlord Tong Tian? Li Muhua immediately became excited. No, I just came here to play left and right. Oh, that's good. You scared me to death. I thought you were going to bring us to the second heaven. Let's talk about it after the servers merge. Lu Chen still wanted to see if he could complete the Divine Blood Demon Seed quest before opening the second heaven. After all, no one knew what the second heaven was like. He did not want to disturb him when he was doing the quest. Oh right, I almost forgot to talk about business. Li Muhua said, your chameleon is still collecting dust, right? Yeah, I took Lu Yi out for a spin at night last time. Although your people said it was fine, I still don't think it's safe. Besides, I'm just a fat otaku. I don't think I have a chance to use it. I might as well buy one that costs a few $100,000. Sigh, you're just leaving it there. Why don't you sell it to me? Ah. Sell it to you. Speaking of the super high-tech sports car, the Chameleon sports car was almost half a month late. Because of the gaming cabin incident, Li Muhua had to replace Lu Chen to collect it. Lu Chen also liked luxury cars. But then again, ever since he came back, he did not have much time to drive it. Besides, Lu Chen was still worried about Tian Xing. It was fine if the gaming cabin was only disconnected from the internet. But there were too many things that could be done to the car. If something happened in the car, it would not be as simple as disconnecting the internet. So, the chameleon was still collecting dust in the garage. Hee, actually, you're not selling it to me. You're selling it to the military. We plan to study it. Well, you don't have to worry about the price. Our leader said that the price outside is 120 million renminbi. There are records of it being sold overseas. We're also offering the same price. You don't have to pay any income tax. Not a single cent less. To be honest, Lu Chen really wanted to sell the car. Plus, there was a benefit for the military to buy it. Until now, Lu Chen had a feeling that Tian Xing was hostile towards him. It was just that in the game, even the so-called developer Tian Xing could not do anything to him. But outside of the game, it was not necessarily the same. It was a good thing that Li Muhua and the others could take the car back to study it. They could also see if Tian Xing was plotting against him. Okay. Lu Chen agreed readily. Give me the money. I'll take the car away at any time. Chapter 263. After chatting with Li Muhua for a while and selling out the chameleon, the pitiful left devil god was killed without any dignity. 12 doppelgangers are too strong. Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh. With this level, I should be able to defeat the heavenly demon lord. Mortal god power quest completed. Activating god power for you. Lu Chen blinked. Not long after, a golden light appeared and exploded from Lu Chen's body, illuminating the entire boss room. Fuck, what's the meaning of this? The golden light was fleeting. Lu Chen opened his personal panel to check. Mortal god power activated. Broke through the level limit by 10%. Lu Chen's eyes widened as he looked at the description of mortal god power in disbelief. Could it be that he could reach level 55 now? Leveling up could indeed increase one's strength, and it was an increase in essence. Especially for someone like Lu Chen whose basic attributes were multiplied by several times, the increase in strength was quite significant. But this was not the key point. No matter what kind of boss, no matter how strong, as long as it was in the first heaven, it would not exceed level 50. According to the old Celestial, this was the rule, an unbreakable rule. When the Bone King saw Kwa Fu, he also said, "You are not a god without god power." Why? Because Kwa Fu, who did not have god power, still followed this rule. Even if he was originally level 1000, he could only reach level 50 here. But it was different now. Lu Chen had broken this rule. Although he was only level 5, he had already jumped out of the rule. In the future, as the level of god power increased, his level limit would also increase. Even if the percentage of breaking through the level limit did not change, he would still be able to level up by 10% when he reached level 100. Lu Chen suddenly understood why this thing was called god power. Only gods could surpass all living beings and rules. This is a bit crazy. Lu Chen said excitedly. By the way, my invincible might is mortal body invincible might. Judging from the name, it doesn't seem to be the real, invincible might. It's just a low-level one, similar to. Lu Chen thought for a while and finally realized that Jiutian was, after all, a cultivation game. Yes, it's similar to when cultivators first set foot on the path of cultivation. Holy shit, this is really beyond my expectations. Lu Chen took a deep breath and looked at his level again. As expected, there was no sign of the upper level limit. Previously, level 50 was already the maximum EXP bar. Now that there was no EXP cap, he was just a step away from level 51. Awesome! Lu Chen took a deep breath. Very good. If my Malwei also has this overpowered ability, then I can reach level 60. Thinking of this, Lu Chen couldn't help but become excited. He couldn't wait to massacre the city. However, the massacre was required to last for 3 days. The Asia server was about to merge. In order to not make any mistakes, Lu Chen could only wait for a while. After coming out of the Tower of Babel, Lu Chen realized that there were many people watching outside the Tower of Babel. Nameless Bro is out. Aya, the second heaven hasn't opened yet. Looks like Nameless Bro can't defeat Demon Supremacy Tong Tian. Don't think of Nameless as a god. He used to have a huge advantage, but he hasn't been online for 60 days. This game has only been open for half a year. His advantage is getting smaller and smaller. Forget it. It's good enough to get the first 2 bosses' equipment. Demon Supremacy Tong Tian can forget about it. Didn't Tianqing's management say that with the current strength of the players in the world, no one can kill Demon Supremacy Tong Tian? Many people's levels and equipment are already at the peak. If it's impossible, I don't know why Tianqing created such a boss. People's faces were filled with disappointment, while others were filled with schadenfreude. Not everyone worshipped Nameless Bro. It was just that at different times, the majority of the players' emotions had affected the majority of the players and made some people shut up. Not being online for 60 days had a huge impact on Nameless' reputation. Normally, if a player didn't play a game for 2 months, it would be considered as not playing anymore. In addition, Nameless did not do anything shocking this time. Those who originally disliked Nameless naturally jumped out. Of course, what they didn't know was that Lu Chen was just cultivating in seclusion. Lu Chen did not react to the rumors around him. He just used a return to city and returned to his own camp. Since the level cap had been broken, Lu Chen could continue to level up. However, there were too few places that were suitable for him to level up. There were no monsters in the Arcosios sanctuary, and it seemed like he couldn't enter it anymore. There were too few monsters in the Tower of Babel. With the huge amount of experience required, it was not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Right, that door in the Tower of Babel. Lu Chen remembered what he saw in the Tower of Babel. Behind that door should be a dungeon or unknown dungeon. To be able to enter the Tower of Babel, it should be at least level 50. Moreover, it seemed like he was the only one who discovered it. This meant that the difficulty of the dungeon should be higher than normal. The cycle of life and death is like looking at a flower in a mirror. Life is death, emptiness is reality, in is out, inside is outside. Lu Chen frowned and repeated this sentence. What does it mean? Xiao Min, do you know? Boss, I'm sorry. I can't guess it either. Lu Chen shook his head and called out Rhubarb. Rhubarb, tell me loudly that you know what it means. Woof woof. System translation, I don't know. Very good. Lu Chen shook his head helplessly. After thinking for a long time, Lu Chen still couldn't figure out what this sentence meant. Frustrated, Lu Chen went to check the official website. The forum was very lively. Now, players were desperately fighting for equipment and leveling up. What was very interesting was that there were more and more players who activated full pain mode. I realized that after activating full pain mode, this is the real adventure in another world. That's right. In the past, I only felt that I was playing a game. Now, I feel like I've really transmigrated to another world. It's also very helpful for improving skills. In the past, it didn't matter if I died. Now, I have to be careful of every enemy. Lu Chen smiled. He had more experience than the others. He believed that there would be many opportunities to activate full pain mode in Jiutian in the future. It was also a good thing that Huaxia players had formed this trend earlier. The most discussed topic in the forum was still the merger of the Asian server. I'm really looking forward to it. By then, there will be 1 billion players in the same server. It seems like the Indian server has been transferred to the Australian server. Otherwise, the Asian server would really explode. By then, all the major forces will fight with each other. The officials said that on the day of the merger, Lingxiao City and Desert City will become ownerless. By then, it will definitely be a chaotic battle. What's there to be afraid of? I've wanted to fight them for a long time. We have a lot of people, and we're not weak now. Actually, the foreign server is very strong. Don't forget, Nameless killed 600 top closed beta players. This is actually a loss for our Huaxia server. It's fine to kill those people. I think it's good to kill them. Lu Chen was not interested in these hot topics. He was already used to being mentioned by others. Should I post a thread to ask for help? Lu Chen thought. Sigh, let's see. Asking for help doesn't seem reliable. There will probably be a lot of people watching. After casually scrolling down a few pages, Lu Chen saw a thread that interested him. The high-end players group is recruiting. Here, everyone can share their gaming experience. There are many max-level gurus in the group, and the managers are all beautiful girls. Sharing gaming experience. Lu Chen said, quite excited. Chapter 264. Jiutian High-End Players Group. There aren't a lot of people, only 50 or so people. A small group is also good. In principle, this group only recruits high-end players who must be level 40 and above. We train new players irregularly. When applying, bring a screenshot and indicate that you are new. Lu Chen read the group introduction. Lu Chen thought for a while, clicked to apply, and wrote, new player, in the application column. He had no choice. If he wasn't a new player, he had to take a screenshot. The administrator happened to be online and approved Lu Chen's application in seconds. When he entered the group, a group announcement popped up immediately. New player, please change your name card according to the standard format. Veteran players indicate their level and server, new players indicate that they are new. Lu Chen shook his head and changed his name card. New player, morning. Lu Chen looked at the group members and suddenly felt a little confused. Didn't they say that they would train new players irregularly? Why was he the only new player in the group? The publicity was completely inconsistent with reality. Lu Chen just entered the group and the group immediately became active. Fairy Zixia, hey, a new player joined the group, new player's photo. Snap of the world, everyone, come out and look at the new player, someone actually joined the group. Administrator, Aunt Yi, didn't our recruitment post sink in seconds? New player, how did you find our group? Morning, I have some questions to ask, so I just clicked on a random post. Administrator, Aunt Yi, okay, our post sank in seconds. I didn't expect you to find it. Fairy Zixia, what's your level now? Morning, my level isn't very high. Speaking of which, the people in the group don't seem to be online. Administrator, Aunt Yi, the subserver is about to merge. Now everyone is busy fighting for high-level equipment and has no time to chat. Snap of the world, isn't that so? It's about to merge. Low-level players are still okay, but max-level players like us will probably fight once the servers merge. Jotian Wind Clear Yang, let's fight, we're not afraid anyway. Oh right, today our guild has a god martial leg, I already got it. Snap of the world, damn, you have a god martial leg? Old Feng is a god after all, he actually got an orange equipment, I'm so envious. Fairy Zixia, wind god, always a god. Did the wind god lack a leg accessory? Administrator, Aunt Yi, jealousy made me ugly, Jotian Feng Qingyang, it's alright. The real gods in our group don't talk. Didn't the group leader already have 3? Then there's 4 hands and the others. I think they have 2. Baldy still has the divine martial spear, an orange weapon. Splitter of the world, why don't you take a look at which guild the group owner is from? They are really strong. Sigh, I really admire them. Lu Chen had the urge to leave the group when he saw the content of their chat. He really wasn't interested in these topics at all. After thinking about it, Lu Chen felt that he had to ask the question that he wanted to ask. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. Newbie, morning, Newbie would like to ask you all a question. May I ask if any of you have seen this saying somewhere before? The cycle of life and death is like looking at a flower in a mirror. Life is death, emptiness is reality. What goes in is out, and what goes in is out. Zixia Fairy, no way, Newbie, morning, don't tell me you haven't died in the game. Lu Chen was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He really hadn't died before. Last time, when he defeated the Bone King, he didn't really die. How could he be seen through just because he asked a question? Was there any relationship between the two? Or could it be that this group of people had some skills? Of course, he definitely couldn't admit to this. In the Jotian game, there were probably too few people who hadn't died even once. Newbie, morning, Fairy, have you seen this sentence before? Splitter of the world, brother, you're not here to show off, are you? You haven't seen this sentence before? Lu Chen felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't here to show off. He was sincerely here to ask for advice. However, in the eyes of others, Nameless joined such a small group and called himself a newbie. If that wasn't showing off, then what was? Newbie, morning, no, why would you say that? Admin, Aunt Yi, forget it. Maybe he just started playing Jotian and has someone to guide him. Maybe he hasn't even been to the Immortal Mountain. Newbie, morning, Aunt Yi, what does this sentence mean? Admin, Aunt Yi, this is a sentence from the Reincarnation Mirror. Although it's not exactly the same, it's almost the same. Anyway, when you see this sentence, you can think of the Reincarnation Mirror. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. Reincarnation Mirror. Right, how could he forget about the Reincarnation Mirror? The first 2 sentences of this sentence already included the 3 words, Reincarnation Mirror. Moreover, the meaning of this sentence seemed to be something about life and death. Wasn't the Reincarnation Mirror the place where players were resurrected? No wonder the others were so surprised by his question. They were saying that he was showing off. For other players, the reincarnation mirror was too familiar. They didn't know how many times they would go there, but Lu Chen had never been there even once. Zixia Fairy, newbie, morning. After a player dies, the soul will return to the reincarnation mirror and see the first 4 sentences you sent. As for the last 2 sentences, we've seen them before. Lu Chen fell into deep thought again. Life and death reincarnation, like looking at flowers in a mirror. These 2 sentences could be understood as referring to the reincarnation mirror, but what about the last 4 sentences? Life is death, emptiness is reality, in is out, inside is outside. What does it mean? No matter what, Lu Chen planned to go to the reincarnation mirror to take a look. Perhaps there were clues there. Before leaving, Lu Chen sincerely thanked these big shots. If it weren't for them, he probably wouldn't have thought that it was the reincarnation mirror. Lu Chen originally planned to leave the group, but after this incident, he realized that it wasn't bad to have such a group. In the future, he might be able to ask some general questions directly in the group. Newbie, morning, thank you, big shots. I'm going back to the game. Back in the game, Lu Chen summoned the 9-winged sky dragon and flew directly to Lingxiao City. When he was about to reach Lingxiao City, Lu Chen changed to flying in stealth mode and finally landed in the reincarnation mirror's area. Usually, there weren't many people in the reincarnation mirror. To be precise, there might be many players in the reincarnation mirror, but they were all in soul form. Therefore, on the surface, it was a desolate area. In the middle of the area, there was a huge oval-shaped bronze mirror floating by itself. It was 10 meters long and 6 to 7 meters wide. The surface of the bronze mirror was uneven and made of copper. Looking through the mirror, the scene would be very blurry and distorted. To be specific, Lu Chen looked at himself in the mirror. Although he was in human form, he looked a little like a ghost. He was twisted and distorted. Lu Chen's eyesight was amazing. Below the reincarnation mirror, he found 2 lines of words. Life and death reincarnation, like looking at flowers in a mirror. Life is death, emptiness is reality. The first 2 sentences were talking about the reincarnation mirror, and the last 2 sentences seemed to be saying that the reincarnation mirror was related to life and death. Emptiness and reality, it felt like it was related to the unreality of the reflection in the mirror. Then only the last 2 sentences were left. Going in is going out, inside is going out. As Lu Chen pondered, he walked in front of the reincarnation mirror and placed one hand on the mirror, trying to find clues. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly realized that the surrounding environment was rapidly changing. The next moment, he was standing in the Tower of Babel again. At this moment, his hand was placed on the southern door. A system notification popped up. You are entering the hidden dungeon, Ghost Valley. Chapter 265. Lu Chen almost cried. He had finally found all 3 hidden dungeons. Fuck, this is too inhumane. Can't there be a normal one? Lu Chen said excitedly. These 3 hidden instance dungeons were each more difficult than the last. The Twilight of the Gods required enough fragments to upgrade the magic weapon, Eye of the Gods, in the Eye of the Gods dungeon. This difficulty was enough to scare people to death. In the Arcosio's palace, one must first complete Xiao Min's quest alone. Then, one must obtain the key to the Undead Gate and kill the Bone King who could break the dimensional wall. One must also kill the left and right kings and massacre the city for 3 days. This 3rd Haunted Valley dungeon seemed to be the easiest, but the biggest difficulty was. For others, this dungeon did not exist at all. In the Tong Tian Tower, others could not see the 4th door at all, and would not get the hint that contained the way to enter the dungeon. After the opening of the server for so long, there must be a lot of people who wandered around the reincarnation realm. There were also countless people who used their hands to touch the reincarnation realm, but in the end, only Lu Chen could come here. Okay, I'm really convinced. Compared to your 3 hidden dungeons, the Sky 5 Elements Sacred Pet Forbidden Area is like a free gift. In any case, the last hidden dungeon had finally appeared. Lu Chen took a deep breath, calmed his excitement, and entered the Haunted Valley. As soon as he entered the Haunted Valley, Lu Chen found that it was different from the other 2 boss rooms. This was an open area. Lu Chen was in a low-lying valley. In front of him, there was a small path leading to an unknown place. Lu Chen had just taken 2 steps when he saw a stone tablet by the side of the path. Divine Herbalist Valley, a golden cauldron goes against the will of heaven, a benevolent heart saves the world. Isn't this Haunted Valley? Why is it Divine Herbalist Valley? Lu Chen frowned slightly. He opened the dungeon map. Although it was full of unexplored dark areas, the name of the map was indeed Haunted Valley. It's written on the map, so it shouldn't be wrong. Lu Chen closed the map. He looked at the old stone tablet and said to himself, maybe this place used to be called Divine Herbalist Valley. Although it was called a small path, in fact, it was already overgrown with weeds. It was just that the ground under the weeds was relatively sturdy, making it convenient for walking. It had been a while since they entered Divine Herbalist Valley, but Lu Chen still hadn't found a single wild monster. He secretly prayed in his heart. Fuck, is this a trend in dungeons nowadays? Big brother, can you give me a few monsters to fight? I don't care if it's hard. Please don't make me go into seclusion again. Let me quickly clear the 3 great hidden dungeons. After a few more steps, several farmhouses appeared in the forest. At this time, Lu Chen finally saw living creatures. Unfortunately, it was still not a wild monster, but an NPC. There were a few children playing in front of him. They were dressed in plain clothes and didn't seem to notice Lu Chen's approach. They were playing by themselves. Lu Chen immediately realized that something was wrong. His flower goblin bloodline told him that everything in front of him was an intermediate illusion. Lu Chen was a little confused about the routine of this dungeon. He first created a wishful clone and arranged it to approach the children. Just as the clone approached, the children who were playing suddenly turned around and turned into 6 balls of black fog. They screamed and pounced on the clone. -75,000, -75,000. 6 attacks, 450,000 HP was dealt to the clone. The clone was almost killed instantly. After dealing a huge amount of damage, the 6 balls of black fog disappeared. Fuck, this damage. Lu Chen was shocked. Even if his doppelganger took 150% of the damage, if he went there himself, he would lose 300,000 HP. There's something wrong with this dungeon. Lu Chen quickly used the blood sacrifice shield and put it on first. Xiao Min, they should be similar to you, right? Boss, Xiao Min is not like them. Xiao Min is boss's ghost pet. They are evil ghosts. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Okay. You are a good ghost and they are evil ghosts. I was wrong. It was still a little scary to go through such a creepy dungeon alone. However, Xiao Min changed the topic and the fear in Lu Chen's heart disappeared. Speaking of which, Xiao Min is different from them. Although Xiao Min is a ghost, she looks like herself. However, those guys look completely different from the children. Lu Chen noticed this detail. If they are not their own souls, then could they be possessed by ghosts? Thinking of this, Lu Chen couldn't help but shiver. Fuck, they like to do this kind of dungeon to scare people. He didn't know if the ghosts were dead or had run away. In short, they didn't appear again. Lu Chen continued to move forward. After a few steps, Lu Chen noticed that there were movements in the 4 farmhouses next to him. Then, someone pushed the door open. 30 to 40 things that were neither human nor ghosts staggered toward Lu Chen. They reached out their hands and made incomprehensible sounds in their mouths. They surrounded Lu Chen. Lu Chen also noticed that their fingernails were green. It was very likely that they were highly poisonous. Usually, Lu Chen could take these wild monsters that were not even elite monsters. However, at this moment, Lu Chen put down the wishful staff. That's not right. Why would there be such low-level wild monsters in an instance dungeon of this level? Lu Chen frowned. Looking at the clothes of these people, they were actually ordinary people's clothes. They were even intact and some were very clean. If they were really evil spirits, shouldn't their clothes be worn out and their bodies festering? This dungeon felt very different. Moreover, the last of the 3 great hidden dungeons should logically be more difficult than the previous 2. One wrong decision could lead to death. Lu Chen did not attack for the time being. He used Night Flash and instantly moved out of the encirclement. When those things saw Lu Chen escape, they slowly turned around and walked toward Lu Chen. However, their speed was very slow. Lu Chen had enough time to dodge. Xiao Min, are they like you? Boss, of course they are different. They are people. Lu Chen took a deep breath. What? They are people. Yes, and they are not dead yet. They seem to be sick. As they spoke, more and more patients came out of their respective houses and surrounded Lu Chen. Damn it, there seems to be some kind of barrier around me. I can only move around this much. Lu Chen suddenly discovered another piece of bad news. In such a narrow space, Lu Chen had to avoid these highly toxic patients. It was becoming increasingly difficult for him. Gradually, Lu Chen was forced to the edge of the barrier. Earlier, those evil spirits could deal 75,000 damage to his doppelganger. This dungeon's damage was abnormally high. Lu Chen was unsure if he could withstand so many poisonous hands. To kill or not to kill? Lu Chen gritted his teeth. Killing these monsters should be very easy. However, this is probably what this dungeon wants me to do. It is forcing me to kill these patients. The easier these monsters are to kill, the more I cannot kill them. This is definitely a trap. Damn it, War God Possession, Demon Transformation, Doppelganger. Lu Chen immediately used his strongest doppelganger. However, this time, he did not use the doppelganger to provide damage. Block in front of me. After having the doppelganger, Lu Chen adjusted his attributes to the lowest. Now that he had the blood sacrifice shield, he should not be killed instantly. Moreover, there was a doppelganger in front of him before he adjusted his attributes. The doppelganger inherited Lu Chen's attributes from before, so it should not be killed instantly. A patient grimaced and touched the doppelganger in front of him. 15,000, poisoned, debuff FUU, highly toxic. Loses 15,000 HP per second. Immediately after, more and more patients touched the doppelganger. 15,000, poisoned, 15,000, poisoned, the damage is okay, and the debuff does not stack. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. With my crowd control, I should be able to hold on for a while longer. Earth-splitting chasm. Now, Lu Chen's skills dealt less than 1 damage and did not break through the doppelganger's defense at all. However, what he wanted was not damage, but to buy himself more time. However, how am I going to clear this damn dungeon? Chapter 266. Lu Chen temporarily let his doppelganger block in front of him to take the damage. After 10 minutes, a bell rang. These patients seemed to wake up and gradually returned to normal. Even the green poison on their hands seemed to have evaporated and disappeared. Damn, it's finally over. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. After these NPCs recovered, they seemed to have regained their consciousness. Many people gathered around him curiously. Lu Chen said to an old farmer in front of him, "Old man, what happened to you?" The old man glanced at Lu Chen with a helpless expression. He sighed and said, "There's actually an outsider here." "Young man, you must have been attacked by us just now. Lu Chen nodded. That's right. You looked a little abnormal just now, and your hands were stained with poison. The old man shook his head helplessly. Young man, you're really lucky. If you killed us just now, you would have been poisoned to death by the poison in our bodies. That kind of poison is not comparable to the poison in our hands. It's thousands of times more toxic. Lu Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. The poison in their hands caused more than 10,000 damage just by touching it. If it was thousands of times more toxic, wouldn't he be killed instantly? Then where did the poison in your bodies come from? Another thin middle-aged man said, we used to be in Divine Herbalist Valley. Divine Herbalist Valley's elixirs have always been the most powerful elixirs in Jiutian. People say that every medicine is 30% poisonous, but our elixirs have no toxicity at all. Who knows how many experts have come here to buy them? Lu Chen listened carefully. But young man, do you think the toxicity of the elixirs will disappear into thin air? Lu Chen frowned. I didn't learn alchemy, but the elixirs I bought don't seem to have any toxicity. No toxicity. Oh, I understand. That's because the elixirs you're using now are all low-level elixirs. They have low efficacy and low toxicity, so low that it's negligible. Lu Chen blinked. Could it be that high-level elixirs would have side effects in the future? It seemed that he had to be careful when using elixirs in the future. Young man, you still haven't answered my question. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, according to the law of conservation of mass. I think that since it's toxic, it won't disappear into thin air, but maybe we can neutralize it in some way. The old man smiled. Our Divine Herbalist Valley's refining technique can no longer be improved. The remaining toxicity can no longer be neutralized. You're right, the poison won't disappear into thin air. Lu Chen asked in a puzzled manner, but didn't you say that you are from the Divine Herbalist Valley and that the pills are not poisonous? But you said that the poison wouldn't disappear into thin air. Where did the poison go? Gu Min didn't say anything, but their expressions were heavy and helpless. Lu Chen was suddenly jolted awake. He was really stupid. Didn't these people say that there was a strong poison in his body? Combined with what they had just said, the answer was already in front of them. The poison had been absorbed into their bodies. Young man, you should have thought about it. The poison in our bodies is formed by absorbing the poison of elixirs over the years. It's no exaggeration to say that each of us here is more toxic than any kind of poison in the world. Once poisoned, there is no way to detoxify it. Lu Chen should really be glad that he didn't make a move. These people in front of him were like big poison bags. If he broke one of them, he would die directly. Damn it, this damn dungeon is really killing me. Lu Chen couldn't help but complain. Since the NPCs could communicate, Lu Chen asked a few more questions. Old man, do you know why this place was renamed Ghost Valley? Because there is no one here. The old man's smile had a kind of bitterness and helplessness. You should have met a few baby eaters at the entrance of the valley. They were those who pretended to be children and played. Lu Chen's eyes widened. I did meet them. Those few were just alone, and to be precise, our name is Medicine Poison Ghost. In fact, we have lived for so many years that we don't even remember. After absorbing elixirs for a long time, although our main duty is to absorb the poison, it is inevitable that we will absorb a small amount of the medicinal properties. This will make our lifespan far beyond imagination. Although we have the characteristics of humans, we can no longer be considered as humans. Lu Chen didn't know what to say. Young man, did you come in from the reincarnation realm? Lu Chen nodded. The old man smiled. That means you have never died in the first layer of the Jiutian realm. Only those who have never died and have sufficient yang qi will not be affected after entering the Ghost Valley. Only then will the reincarnation realm let them in. Lu Chen had indeed never died. Thinking about it, it was not a coincidence that he was the only one who could discover the Ghost Valley. Although these people had temporarily returned to normal, listening to their words, it seemed that they would return to that state in the future. Lu Chen looked around and found that the surrounding air barrier was still there. Old man, do you know how to leave here? Are you leaving? A young woman looked at Lu Chen excitedly. It's rare for us to have a living person here. Don't leave. The surrounding people immediately echoed, yes, don't leave. Stay with us. We can lock you in a separate house. This way, we won't hurt you. When Lu Chen heard this, he suddenly felt goosebumps on his back. A group of ghosts told him to don't leave. This was definitely not a good thing. Everyone was clearly chatting happily before. Why did they suddenly make such an excessive request? I have to pass the Ghost Valley as soon as possible. I can't stay here for too long. Don't be so enthusiastic, I can't take it. The old man looked at Lu Chen and sighed, hey, young man, are you really going to leave? Yes, I must leave. Then can you promise us a condition? The old man said politely, but it seemed that if he didn't agree, Lu Chen wouldn't be able to leave. This kind of thing must be agreed first. No problem, leave it to me. Kill the Valley Master. The old man's eyes suddenly showed an extremely resentful look. Even the expressions of the surrounding Gu Min were the same. This degree of resentment, it was hard to imagine that it could burst out from the eyes of an emotionless NPC. It was as strong as the endless poison accumulated in their bodies. There was no antidote. At this moment, even Lu Chen was a little moved. Lu Chen said seriously, is he the one who made you like this? Yes, it's him. The reason why the entire Divine Herbalist Valley became the Ghost Valley was because of him. He has been possessed by the devil, and he won't even let himself go. Through the medicine, he is no longer affected by any physical attacks, nor any spiritual attacks. What? Lu Chen almost collapsed, isn't that invincible? The old man shook his head, I can only say, almost invincible. Young man, he ate poison. No way, how can your Valley Master be afraid of poison? The old man looked back at the Gu Min. Everyone's face showed a relieved smile. Behind the old man, the middle-aged man reached into his chest with one hand. After stirring, he took out a green pill. Hundreds of Gu Min followed and took out the poison pills in their bodies. Everyone handed the poison pills to the old man. Then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, their bodies quickly decayed until they turned into soil. The old man took out a golden cauldron and put the poison pills in it. He looked at Lu Chen meaningfully. Yes, he is afraid of poison. He is not afraid of normal poison, but he is afraid of our poison. The old man smiled confidently. Lu Chen suddenly remembered that the poison in these people's bodies was incurable. Obtained 1 5-star evolution point. Obtained 1 evil ghost-type creature soul essence. Obtained 25 pure spiritual energy. Killed, grade 3 furnace ghoul, level 50 elite. Obtained 80,000 spiritual energy. Obtained 1 rank 6 talent fragment. Obtained 1 6-star evolution point. Obtained 1 evil ghost-type creature soul essence. Obtained 25 pure spiritual energy. Killed, grade 3 furnace ghoul, level 50 elite. Obtained 80,000 spiritual energy. Obtained 1 rank 6 talent fragment. Obtained 1 6-star evolution point. Obtained 1 evil ghost-type creature soul essence. Obtained 25 pure spiritual energy. The experience is pretty good. And it actually dropped an evil spirit's soul essence. Lu Chen was quite surprised. Ding! Dropped item, top quality chi gathering pill, X1, ding! Dropped item, top quality healing pill, X2, dropped item, Top quality chi gathering pill, X1. The amazing thing was that the furnace ghouls didn't drop equipment, but they dropped pills. This was the first time Lu Chen saw a first revolution pill. A first revolution chi gathering pill could increase 20,000 pure spiritual energy. Fuck, I'm rich. No, I can't waste any more time here. My doppelganger will hold them off for now. I'll go find the boss first and come back to kill it. Lu Chen originally wanted to get more first revolution chi gathering pills, but he remembered that the weapon only had 30 minutes of poison extraction. Now that 10 minutes had passed, he could only give up this chance and charge towards the Divine Herbalist Valley Hall alone. Ghost Valley Hall. One could still see the past glory of the Divine Herbalist Valley. Although the ruined hall was already in ruins, one could still see its former majesty. At this time, a green-clothed girl was cultivating in the open space in front of the hall. In front of her, there was a golden cauldron. It can't be her, right? Lu Chen never thought that the so-called Ghost Valley Great Demon was actually a female-clothed girl. Moreover, she was so beautiful, like a fairy that didn't eat the food of mortals. As expected, appearances can't be trusted. Lu Chen shook his head. He had already seen the girl's ID. Poison Venerable Lu Luo Lu Yi, level 50 quasi-heaven domain boss. A guy of normal human height was actually a quasi-heaven domain boss. Lu Chen couldn't believe it. Lu Yi also raised her head at this time. A pair of green eyes looked at Lu Chen. She seemed a little excited. Great, there's someone who can help me refine pills. Lu Chen shook his head. You've already gone mad. AI, although you're a beauty, I can only kill you. Ha 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 ha, the girl stood up and flicked her clothes. What's there to be afraid of? What I'm most afraid of is being like me now, unable to live as a human, unable to die as a ghost. Kill me. If you can kill me, that's great. I've been waiting for this day for too long. Unfortunately, in this layer of heaven, no one can kill me. Physical immunity and spiritual immunity, this ability was invincible. Lu Yi indeed had the ability to be arrogant. Lu Chen calmly said, that's right, players can't kill you, but your people can. After saying this, Lu Chen pulled out the wishful long staff. It's not that I won't take revenge, it's just that the time hasn't come. You'll have to suffer the consequences of your own actions. War God Possession. Demon Transformation. Demon Doppelganger. Demon King will respawn. Doppelganger. Blood Sacrifice Shield. Facing a quasi-heaven domain boss, a super boss with physical and magical immunity, Lu Chen didn't dare be careless. This is the last hidden instance, I can't make a mistake. After saying this, Lu Chen charged at Lu Yi. I'm coming. I'll catch you, I'll use you to refine pills. Lu Yi seemed to have changed into a different person, filled with excitement. Spiritual pill, flesh Buddha pill. Spiritual pill, spirit dissipation pill. Taking 2 pills, Lu Yi's body released a red and blue light, mixing into a golden light. This should be similar to the tyrant body. Lu Chen knew that Lu Yi was now immune to physical and magical attacks. Solipsistic, come, I'll play with you. Man Luo Heavenly Verification. Countless petals fell from the sky and landed on Lu Chen's doppelganger, each petal dealing over 30,000 damage. Although the damage wasn't scary, the problem was that these petals were very slow and they fell without any pattern. Moreover, they were endless, attacking the entire screen. Fuck, this is killing me. In just a few seconds, the 300,000 blood fiend shields are gone. Lu Chen was hit by 7-8 petals. If he wanted to kill Poison Master Lu Luo as soon as possible, he couldn't avoid these countless petals. With great difficulty, Lu Chen arrived in front of Lu Yi. Old man, I hope your poison is effective, otherwise this woman will be invincible. Fierce tiger descends the mountain. Lu Chen smashed down with his staff. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.